established.
Hey, good morning and good evening, and wherever you are in the world. Hey, guys. Hey, Jim. Hi, Robert. Hi, Gerald. How you going? I mean, this is Gerald from Midwest Night Watches, and how's the sky going there, mate?
Pretty good. We had a 6-hour show Friday. Was it Friday night? Friday night, and we had a bunch of orbs and stuff popping in front of the camera, along with the deer and everything.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that. That was some good stuff.
You know, hey, I enjoy watching it, just lying there in bed and just. No, I'm usually up.
Hey,
Anyway,
B, turn on that share stream so we can get it on these other channels.
Share stream. Nothing's up here at the moment.
So you go into settings.
Share stream. Actually, what am I
The
going
stream,
to
the stream, share the stream. Usually it's set so that we can just say share it to our channels as well, but it's not showing up.
Isn't it? Oh,
It was on there when I popped up first. Now it's missing.
Is it really? Okay. Go to what?
It's under settings, and I think it's under. I can't see it on mine because it's not my account, but it's on the left. I think it's like group settings or some shit like that, or streaming settings.
Okay, just on a sec, guys. Let me have a look here. Well, yeah, okay. Well, I've got guest layout hotkeys, recorded virtual audio, camera, and general.
Go to general.
Yeah, the general. Okay. Now I'm in general, and it's got high definition, automatically share screen.
That's not out of share screen. The stream.
No, nothing streamed there, mate.
Nothing. Well, shit.
I think it's when you go to edit show at the top, then it pops up as an option to click.
Yeah, try that. Go to the top there and see if you can do that.
Okay. Oh.
In case that way, you know, Gerald and I can stream it to ours and more people will see it, but we also get all the chat. We get the chat in one thing. We don't have to look at all the different chats on the channels.
Okay, I can't. Nothing there. Let's have a look here. Share screen. History download all my extensions.
Oh, Robert, do a dance for us while he's sitting there trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, sorry about this.
You've always had it set up.
I know it is set up. I don't know why it's not coming up now. That's the thing.
It was up there when I first came on in the show. Then all of a sudden it was gone.
Right. Okay.
You have to reboot.
Well, I can reboot if people don't mind. Let's see.
No, it should. You should be able to go ahead and leave the show and then
Yeah.
go into the settings and see if you can find it.
Okay. I'll exit out the show. You
Because
guys,
we'll still be here and we can flap our yaps till you get
Yeah.
back after pushing the right button.
just bear with me, guys. Sorry.
That's all right.
That's right. We got nothing better to do. That's why we're here.
I mean, it's
Thanks, guys.
it's Saturday night, and we're just setting out the city ablaze with merriment
Yes.
and fun. Yeah,
Mirth and merriment.
yeah.
Yeah. Heidi's talking to you already, Robert.
Yep. I see her out there. I just sent her a message. Throw some turds on the table. Well, I'm going to throw some on the screen. That's for sure. I got some videos, and when we were talking about what to talk about, B and I earlier today, he said, "You got anything?" And I said, "Well, have you seen what's been going on over in Davos?"
They just had their lunch handed to them a couple of days ago,
and several times by several people, and I mean it's quite interesting to watch because what's important are not only the people that said the words, but the words that were used. These people, there were several people that went directly after not only the elite and the syndicate over there at the World Economic Forum, but they went directly for this whole DEI, this whole ESG, all the alphabet EIEIO things that they've been coming up with.
Ask Boeing how well that's doing for them.
Right? Yeah, and how's old Sports Illustrated doing?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That just tickled the hell out of me. I mean, I watch some sports only to be sociable, and it's football. And they just announced, and I hope it kills the Super Bowl, but they just announced that they're going to do the other national anthem. That was,
yeah.
And I think that is, pardon the expression, bullshit.
Well, there's no pardoning to it. That's an accurate term for describing the situation that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's complete. Whether you call it horse pucky, bull pucky, materialized flatulence. I mean,
the wordsmith over here,
right? I mean, they all mean the same thing.
I mean, they already did it once and got shot down the last time they played it.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was at a regular. Whoever is, and probably Goodell, and no relationship to Goodall, but I think Goodell. I think his purpose in life is just destroy the brand.
Well,
but some of the rules. I mean, some of the rules. The guy's down, holding his on the ball. I haven't heard a whistle because I don't listen. And someone takes the ball away from him, and the ref said, "Well, no, it's okay. He wasn't called down." And that almost happened again tonight. Rosemary was watching it, and some of the illegal shift. Who gives a fuck? Oh, excuse me. Who gives a shit? Well, excuse me again.
Hey, Jim, we know you're just going to say it like you mean it because that's what it is. It's all we're going to get. So you just keep going.
Yeah. Well, I try to watch my tongue, especially when the ladies were on, which I really enjoyed because they're delightful. They're both of them.
It should be good to go now, Robert.
Yep, I'm seeing it and I'm getting it loaded up here.
I don't know why it was unchecked, but I didn't uncheck it.
Yeah. How old are you now?
Yeah.
all the brain cells that have evaporated kill your hair follicles. When you take your hat off for a second.
Hey, listen, can I have my little five minutes of spitting the dummy? Okay, I really want to spit the dummy.
Well, we love you anyway, so it's okay.
Thanks. Look, my wife does. My gorgeous. Let me adjust this camera. I mean, the one with my man boobs. You're welcome. Anyway, my wife does all the shopping, and
I don't know where that came
and of course, you go into these stores, and after Christmas they've got these sales on, right? And we're talking about economic forum and everything else, and I think honestly, man, we're being screwed big time, big time. And why I say this is that my wife bought these shirts for me and these other things, and they're $6-7. Regular price $54. Now, don't tell me, right? The sale. I mean, what's the profit margin on a shirt? If you can buy it for $7 and then it's $54 or $55 to buy it at regular price. I mean, what's the friggin' markup that are they having up? Now we're talking on a global sense here, you know what I mean?
But everybody, throughout the supply chain, everybody takes their piece of the pie, and you have to have enough profit, for the retailer to want to put it on your shelf forever. How long, could be instantly gone, stolen, or spoiled if it's there, too long. So, but it's everybody taking a piece of the pie.
Yeah, but have you ever heard of Choice Magazine? Choice Magazine had a breakdown on on certain products, and they say, well, the factory makes it for 30-odd something cents. It costs another 5 cents for the packaging, and then you look at about another 15 cents for transport, right? So at the end of the day, the thing costs less than a friggin' dollar, but yet they're selling the item for something like $8 or $9 or $7 in some case. I mean, the markups absolutely.
Yeah. Now the technology has changed, but to give you an example how absurd it can be, to manufacture a DVD with full color silk screening on one side, full color insert, and a jewel case, 11 cents out the door. I mean, you have to pay for the intellectual content of the DVD, the artists, because it's if it's not one album, and it's going to be a multiple. But it's insane, and now you don't even have to worry. DVD players, you go to the secondhand store, run by all the where all the retirement communities are, and you'll find a couple of DVD players in there that you can watch your huge DVD collection that you have today, and you can get everything else online now. You don't even need it.
Yeah, there's nothing tangible in your hands anymore. I mean, unless you buy a CD or DVD or whatever you want to call it, right? And it's in your hand, and you got it. It's something you can play with it, and you can throw it to the shit house if you want. But now it's all in digital format, which I won't go down that road because Professor Bauer's going down to digital marketing. He's got an excellent idea, but that's top secret at the moment. I think it's a hush hush. Doesn't want anybody to steal his idea. But the issue is, when you're looking at products, for example, if you're looking at cereals, here's a classic one. You can get your cornflakes or whatever. It's added salt, sugar. It's got all these additives in it, right, to sweeten it up or to whatever. And and they charge you an arm and a leg for it. But then again, if you go and get something that's unprocessed, no sugar, no salt, no nothing, basically in its raw state, right?
You might as well go graze with the horses and the cows.
Yeah. Hey, but it's twice more expensive. I mean, that hasn't been processed. They've done nothing to it really. But but they say, it's because it doesn't sell as good as the others.
Well, B, you don't think that they get by on, selling crackers and bubble gum and making a few cents, and doing that to support all the corruption that they have to pay for? I mean, don't you think that these guys? I mean, they got bills, and they got people to pay and things to pay off, and there's all these. And this is when you were first talking about it, the first thing that came to my mind was, and also to what Jim was saying about the manufacturing of CDs. Back in '99, when I started my record label, I paid for all of my own promotion. We produced and mastered and created all of our own masters. I think I used 3 or 4 different replication houses and got the hard, clear case with the insert
case, yeah,
the insert and all, 4-color printing on the silk on the CDs, and then had a bunch of professional shots done. Had my website up, and we were doing e-commerce, selling shit. I wouldn't do MP3s. This is when the MP3 revolution just took over, and I was like, no, I'm an audiophile. I'm making lossless wave files so that you can hear everything, because we spent a lot of time making sure you could hear everything. There was a lot of work that went into that. And it was a team of just me and 2 other guys. But we produced, I think the first order was 5,000 CDs. We did a bunch of station IDs and interviews. We toured a little bit down in Louisiana and up in Tennessee with a couple of the artists. We did all of that ourselves in a home studio that I built to produce all this stuff. This is now almost 25 years ago. And the tech now, I can do all that stuff sitting here in my little man cave.
Right.
Yeah. I love her sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we love you, Heidi.
Yeah. Yeah. I did send Heidi a link, but apparently she must be busy.
That girl's been on fire lately. She's, doing all. She did a show the other night, and caught a little bit of that. And she's posting like a mad woman with nothing else to do. I'm kind of wondering,
she's alive.
Did she hire some help? Or she just got it all under control, and it's just, she didn't have to worry about it. It's just doing what it's supposed to do.
Hey, she's so energized, mate. Heidi is so energized. Great show. I mean, I was watching this.
I love her. I just love her attitude.
Oh, mate.
She makes you want to smile.
She oozes with positiveness, and lightness, and
it's disgusting. It truly is disgusting.
Yeah, the thing is you come away with some of that on you. So you're like, sticky with all that bubbly stuff, and you're bouncing around going, why am I bouncing around?
Well, obviously we're sharing the turds with us. Oh, well. Anyway.
So back to, I was going to finish off with what reference to what Jim was talking about in the process. And that's why I told that little story of my label. Since I can do all the stuff I was doing 25 years ago, right here now, with the exception of the only thing I can't do here is I did have a live room. And at one point we had 40 people in the studio, in the live room. And it was an Indian tribe doing a drum circle live in the studio. And if you have ever done any kind of sound engineering at all, you will appreciate as a fact that a whole bunch of acoustic percussion instruments being played by a whole bunch of people independently together. Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing we ever recorded, just so that we got a decent sound. And you can hear it on the Sacred Ground CD on my Intuitive Sound website. But that whole process of being able to create the content and do it with your own toys and tools, and all you need is an internet connection, a couple of subscriptions here or there, and you can create content, which is essentially what we're doing now, right? What we do all the time. We get on here, we're creating some kind of content, and we're using the latest tech to not only do it, but to do it and try to do it as well as we can with it, right? That's why I was poking around on B to go turn that damn thing on, because it's a lot easier just to stream it here than to go get it off of yours, download it, put it back up on mine. I don't need to do that because this tool does that. And that's a very cool thing. And that's new. That's only in the last year or so. So I've been working on my tech project and the System X technologies. And I've got 3 sections: tokenization, artificial intelligence, and then the architecture itself. Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
Joining.
There he is.
Brian.
Hello, gentlemen. Great to be here.
Yeah.
So I've been working on. I've got the website up. I've got PowerPoint up the wazoo. I've got documents. but I've been trying to figure out, how do I get it condensed into an audio video format to where it can be consumed very easily and it will get the point across. So doing it with these technologies, even though I'm a geezer geek, I've been rubbing my face into this space for a long time, and I just enjoy it all the time because it keeps getting cheaper and better. So to the point about new stuff, two of the pieces of software, two of the three main ones, well, four now, or no, two of the three are beta versions of the software. So it's the latest with all the supposed tools and techniques and toys and, all the fun stuff that you want to do. But it's beta. It ain't fully released. And I've been developing software for my whole tech career. And I know, because I built it, I would never take a V1 of anything unless I had a sandbox that I could go put it in and say, if it blows up, it's okay over there, right? So I'm using a video and an AI system that are both in beta to help create the content. In fact, I'd like to share it with you, if you wouldn't mind. I think B saw it, right?
Yes, it's fantastic. Well done, actually.
Well, thank you very much. I'm wondering if I should I'll just play it from the website.
Share screen. You can share screen.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to figure out whether I should stream it or just load the MP4 that I have locally. And that'll actually be better because it's a lot. They won't fuck around with the bandwidth. Okay. Hold on. Open with that. Thank you very much. Okay, let me do the share screen. Where am I presenting? I'm presenting a screen. And
G'day, freaky Greek geek.
Entire screen. There we go. All right, tell me when you see it.
I got it, mate. There we go.
Ta-da! Yeah, we see it.
So, all right. So let me tell me if you can hear it. Blockchain revolution.
Yep, all good.
And creation in 2024.
The volume's real low.
Ever wondered what the future of content creation could look like? The digital world of modern times poses a multitude of problems for content creators. Copyright infringement is an issue that runs rampant, often causing distress. Also, creators find it challenging to record substantial profits, as the distribution is usually skewed and unfair. In addition to this, there's a glaring lack of transparency running through the industry, creating a rather opaque environment that fosters doubt and mistrust. These impediments can put a significant damper on creativity and innovation, discouraging aspiring creators from venturing into the realm of content creation. The struggle of these creators grappling with issues that seem insurmountable in the current structure of the industry is demoralizing. The dream of a digital utopia where these issues are non-existent seems far-fetched. But can you imagine a world where these problems are part of a forgotten history? A world where the hurdles to creativity are demolished and the path to innovation is clear and unencumbered? Let's imagine a world where technology is not seen as a threat, but as an ally. A world where technology empowers creators, providing them with the very tools they need to flourish and grow. A world in which creators are not limited by technological constraints, but are instead propelled to new heights by it. It's a world that seems far off, but is it really? We're already seeing glimpses of this in cutting-edge technologies like AI and machine learning. What if the technology existed to solve these issues? Enter blockchain. This ingenious technology could potentially revolutionize the content creation industry, solving long-standing issues and paving the way for a brighter, more equitable future. Blockchain. It sounds complex, doesn't it? Well, it's not as complicated as it might seem. In essence, it's a type of advanced digital database. Think of blockchain as a modern-day ledger, storing all kinds of records, but with extra layers of protection and transparency. Let's delve deeper. Transparency in the context of blockchain implies that every single transaction or entry is visible to all participants of the network. This open availability of data inspires a sense of accountability, as every transaction is on display. Next comes the aspect of security. In a world where digital security is a significant concern, blockchain comes with a robust solution.
It utilizes sophisticated cryptographic techniques to protect the data. Once a transaction is recorded and encoded on the blockchain, it's virtually impossible to alter or delete it. It's like a digital equivalent of etching your commitment onto an unbreakable stone. The third crucial feature of blockchain is its decentralization. Instead of a single dominant authority controlling the network, a blockchain system is composed of multiple nodes. Each of these carries an identical copy of the entire blockchain. Hence, power is not concentrated, but spread out evenly. This setup ensures that no single entity can manipulate the system, making it an embodiment of a truly democratic digital structure. In short, blockchain can be viewed as a transparent ledger, secure against tampering, accessible to all, and not monopolized by a single authority. Now, how does this apply to content creation? Imagine a world where content creators have full control over their creations. Blockchain technology is making this possible. It's revolutionizing content creation by eliminating intermediaries and ensuring profits go directly to creators. The technology also provides unprecedented
Hello. Okay.
And what happened to Robert?
Okay.
Did we lose Robert?
Yeah, we lost Robert. Yeah, but he'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
But it's strange, it's as we were saying, what's happening.
Hey! You cut that off before it was finished. It had another 10 seconds.
We lost the audio to
We saw the other 10 seconds after you disappeared.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there we go. Okay. So, what do you think? Got any questions?
I mean, it's
you're going to piss people off, don't you?
How are you going to take power away from people that have had power for 1,000 years?
That's what I'm saying. You're going to piss a lot of corporations off
by providing an alternative to what they have.
I have a question. This is a technical question, Robert.
Yeah.
When it's decentralized and everybody has a copy of the ledger, so then does it get bulky after a while? I mean, then you got this like infinitely long ledger with like everyone on it forever, or how does that work? Like at a certain point, does the ledger get too large, or it's not a big deal?
Yeah. So and it hits you, Control Alt Delete.
Well, scalability is not an issue. We've got the technology we have now, as far as storage, and bandwidth is just increasing on a regular basis. So first of all, will it create a shitload of content? Absolutely. It's going to create a boatload. Yeah. I mean, you think we got now is a lot, what's coming is going to be crazy. And that's even a more important reason to do it. Because if you get in front of it before it gets out of hand, you harmonize the data. Because the most important thing, and I don't get into it in this, but I do when I get into the deck and do the overview of the architecture. The important thing is data. Information is the new gold. It's the oil. And it has been for a while, but it's going to become, because of the sovereignty and the provenance of yourself. And this is the show that I did 3 or 4 years ago now on your identity is your currency. Most of everything is already digitized in some way, shape, or form. In fact, the important things that you have in your life that you use to conduct your navigation through reality is already digitized. All the banks, everything it's all ones and zeros in a binary format. And there's a lot of laggards out there, which is where there's a lot of opportunity. But let me, instead of getting too squirreled with that turd, let me head over to an example and the point I was trying to make with this video on content creators. The registration and identity of whoever you are, and all of the assets that are attached to you, that information, that data is what's right now scattered across 100 different systems. And you don't own the data. The data, you are accessing the data that somebody else has on you. You may have provided it, but where the data resides is who has ownership. And that whole system, aside from it just being ass backwards and based on an old design of how things work, the entire way in which we conduct commerce, the way we exchange information and value with one another, that whole what's happening, there isn't a system to accommodate it. The unfolding of stuff that's out there and what people are creating, the current system can't handle. Not only from the way that the infrastructure is set up and all the intermediaries, because right now a lot of the, back to your point earlier, you were started with, Terry, on a cost of things. It's like part of I was tongue in cheek only halfway with the question of these guys have corruption to pay. They've got bills, right? They've got secret not only the secret space programs, but they got the off-world stuff and they got the underworld stuff. I mean, they got so much stuff to do. That's why there's over 21 trillion missing in our own government's coffers over the last 20 years. And that's just unaccounted for. And they have done the old accounting trick of it's being off book. So there's no auditing, there's no transparency. All of that is going to be important at the individual level, and it has to start from the ground up. It has to start from the individual out. You have to gain control of your identity, because everything that you're going to do going forward is going to be dependent on you, first of all, being a validated identity, and then whatever you use to conduct commerce will then be automatically accepted, right? That control has to be at the individual level. Once the individuals all have their own wallet with their own blockchain and their own identity, and they can monetize it, create whatever tokens they want, they can assign assets and all of the stuff that they own in it, and then you share that as needed. You only share the amount of information that's required for whatever transaction or interaction that you're having.
And if you don't mind me butting in here, to your question.
Does that make sense, Brian? I'm sorry.
I mean, it does. And I think part is, it sounds like the technical part you kind of answered, Robert, with increase in technology and bandwidth so that these ledgers are manageable. And then even if it's decentralized.
Anyway, as I was going to say, to your question, Brian, it's like you only got to look at Google and look at Facebook and YouTube. They're all interlinked through Google now, right? And of course, the same data is still there. The bank, as you say, are we going to go what they call digital overload? I think we've already hit that spectrum already, where everybody's digitized now. Even your banks, banking's, everybody's digital, and that's the way of the future, because now they're talking about the monetary systems is going to totally collapse, and we're all going to go into what they call digital money. Digital cash is not going to exist anymore. And of course, the system that Robert's going down is tailored for that kind of industry as well. It really is tough. I mean, anyway, back to you there, Robert. I mean, this is just my view, anyhow. Just my.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I did add more than Brian asked for. I kind of got on one of my rants there, and I appreciate your but I'm very passionate about this because it's at a certain point. Unfortunately, there's enough tenure in the meat sacks that are present tonight. And the tenure includes experience and knowledge and perspective and appreciation of wandering in the wonder, right? Because we're all at the point where woo is where it's at, and if you got a double woo, then you are there. It's another level of woo. And there's another level after that I think is not only out there but is also coming. But again, that's a different turd. So, the key.
So I got a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
So in this blockchain, the foundation is going to be set and behind lock and key. So the original format or the premise is going to be unchangeable once it's in fruition, and then on past that, then all the different streams, whether it's financial, arts, music, and all that's going to shoot off of that. And then theirs will be locked in once they get to a certain point. Then people will be able to go off of those shoots, right?
Yeah, all of that's right. Yeah, you're right.
It sounds like a digital ID to me. I mean, it's like a one world order. Everybody's got your mark.
No. See, and this is the point. First of all, Gerald, you're right, except for that last part on the branch off. Okay. It's more of a branch in. So what'll happen, and the key thing here, there's 2 points I want to make. The most important thing going forward, like I said, information is the new gold. It's the oil. And that information about you is what's important. Having the sovereignty and provenance over your secure identity on the interweb, because that's where everything is. That's where everything is now, and it's going to be even more so in the future. So getting control at the individual level of the sovereignty of the identity of self is the most important thing going forward. The way that that's done, to Brian's question about data saturation and the overpopulation of storage, and it's burgeoning, like a big oil silo crane, and it just kind of blows out. The problem, the way to solve, well, first of all, the issue is this. In all of the action and the interactions that we take, all of the transactions that we do peer-to-peer, one to many, many to one, are being done through a system that's just cobbled and crapped on with a bunch of inefficient, friction-causing entities and intermediaries. Everything is designed from the way that people thought things should be 20 or 30 years ago. A lot of it hasn't changed at all, and it's built on technology that's very old and inefficient.
Well, what will make 20 years from now, if this is implemented today, 20 years from now, wouldn't it be considered obsolete?
Well, of course. And that's the thing, is that I think it was on one of the shows we did earlier. We were talking about the 2024 predictions, and I said I predict basically an entire brigade of bulldozers coming in and just leveling everything, because the only way, everything that we are currently using to do what we do is broken, it's inefficient, and it can't be repaired. It has to be replaced. Everything. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, I think I see your platform here is democratizing as opposed to centralizing and enslaving, even though you got this central banking digital currency, the CBDCs, being kicked around by the Federal Reserve and the central banks everywhere, because as their economy collapses, they're trying to replace their old stinky turd with a less stinky, shinier turd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
And
I'm wondering
and I'm wondering if maybe your technology operates more on a holographic basis, where one coin in one person's hand is going to mirror another person's coin in another person's hand, and yet the coins are always developing synchronously. Which, to me, for Bitcoin, I'm torn, because Bitcoin in and of itself doesn't seem to provide much value to me, as opposed to trying to be a replacement cryptocurrency. What I like about what you're doing here, Robert, is there is value, especially to artists and people who have intellectual property to share with the world, to then be credited and tagged and not get ripped off. And fine if some crappy artist later on down the line does a reverse dubstep remix, in the blockchain, that it's originally your content that they bastardized, and it's okay. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And the thing that is also, there's a number of things you said that are really important. And before I forget it, when you said, it's just going to be this, there was all of the different connections and all of the stuff that you do is available and visible and all that. And the first thought I had in my mind was, once you tokenize yourself, okay, and then you assign your assets also tokenized, okay, the first thing that people have to realize is that the only reason cryptocurrencies exist is because of the blockchain. So you can't have a digital currency, a central bank. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter. You can't have a Bitcoin, a Theta, and Ethereum, Polygon. You can't have any of them. XRP, you can't have them without a blockchain. So the blockchain is already being used. This model that I'm talking about for content creators, it's already being used for the financial system. Okay. Now, so there's a couple of things. When you said, all these different nodes, the first thing I thought was, once you have accumulated the information about the assets you own, the transactions and interactions with them, all the other people, all the private and public things that you do, because all of that will be on your blockchain.
I mean, stuff that you didn't even know you were charged with, but you had done something illegal or improper.
You'll have it there to look at. The thing about a blockchain is you can't go backwards and change data. Okay, and that's what makes this very powerful. Once a record, this ledger and a spreadsheet model, if you will, once that token is created, and there's, hey Jessity, and there's a hashtag set for that, you can't go back and change it. You can't go in and you can go do funky accounting with what you end up at the end, or you get at the end, but you can't go back and change anything. It's immutable in that way. So you can only add to it. You can't take away from it or change it.
Can I speak from a futurist perspective?
Yeah.
Eventually, it's like everything, assuming it's on a, this mythical quantum system or whatnot, or some far distant future system where everything has been kind of empiricized or tokenized, if you will. It's almost like I've heard other people speaking of a timelines where there's a far distant future where there's a benevolent AI kind of running things, and I could see it's like everything's tokenized and how it sees the world holographically in relationship to us.
So that's what you said, the word holographic. So when I went, holy shit. So imagine you've got your wallet. We'll call it a wallet for data's sake. And all of your information about you and your tokenization and your cryptocurrencies, all the information about you is in that little wallet. Okay. So as you accumulate all these interactions and the information that goes along with it, your history is there. It's undeniable. It's there, right? So you've got that. Well, imagine seeing that over time in a 3D model. That information just getting spaced around and lumped in its little groups, and you get to see the interconnections, and you can sit there and spin it around, do a Tony Stark on it, an Iron Man thing, dissect it, pull that up, what was going on in there. So that, I think, is going to be, it's going to be amazing. It's really going to be amazing. But so the points I wanted to make were, the database structure that we are currently using today is one of the major friction points of getting things done today. It's not just all of the processes that people have defined in order for you to have a supply chain, okay, which are all got a whole bunch of bullshit. You got leasing companies, insurance, and you got employees, and you got all this shit, right? Well, all of that you have to, in order to manage it, if you can't look at it and make sense out of it, you can't manage it. So, and the saying is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So the information is the gold of whatever is going on, because that's where you would take something like this AI nonsense, and I'll explain what I mean by nonsense, is going on right now. In fact, I did a little piece on the channel called AI, the hype, hyperbole, fuss and muss and sex and sizzle, because that's what's going on with this stuff. From a technology perspective, we're not going to get sentient cyborgs deciding whether or not we are going to live today or not. You can program the robot to go do that, but for it to think of it on its own, for it to come up with that concept and go, maybe I should go execute this program. You can't put consciousness and all the variables that we experience in consciousness, insight, intuition, intent, curiosity, motivation. Those are emotions and a part of the organic experience of consciousness. So all of those things and several others that are really important are not defined on or defined or agreed upon within the academic world that governs biotechnology, neurology, all of the different disciplines that they have in what we call medicine and biology. Those people don't know shit, and they can't figure out the intuition, intent, emotions, curiosity. Anytime you hear something where they say, in fact, I've got one of the articles I'm going to do a report on. I think it was in Japan. They came up with a way to have their AI express empathy. Like, what was your definition of that? And how did you measure it? Yeah. I'd like to see what went into you coming up with that answer, because I got questions. So to me, the way I see reality is that it's all born of consciousness, which expresses itself as energy. And that energy is a set of infinite frequencies that manifest the materium that we inhabit. So anything we see that we would regard as having life or being living, plants, animals, grasses, insects, birds, trees, atmosphere, other planets, stars, solar systems, before Descartes came in and created his Cartesian dualism and separated nature and the material world from the spirit world, God, mind of man and angels and all that. Before that, everybody thought that everything was alive. Every culture had their cosmology based on they were in a living universe. Totally different perspective, and one that I think is closer to reality and truth than all this materialistic, mechanistic stuff that is currently owning all of the knowledge disciplines of science and everything else. It's a grit model. It's based on the atomist constructs from the old ancient Greeks, where it's like, well, they've got one billiard ball and it smashes into another one. So trying to do over at CERN. All of them completely deny the ether, the Ethereum. And the Ethereum is where all the magic is. That's where all the reality is. In fact, the materium exists because of the Ethereum. So I've been having fun. I have to admit, in my geezer days, I've been going after some of these youngins in the physics world, challenging, the constants and the laws and asking questions that they clearly haven't considered, because there's a lot of real, there's denial and a fair amount of anger coming from these young people who call themselves physicists.
Well, I kind of hazard to say that with modern quantum physics, we've already proven that Heisenberg was right and Einstein was wrong. He didn't like spooky action at a distance. But the fact is that we are interconnected. And then that quantum physics and the idea of us being connected to one another or atoms or molecules being connected, or atoms rather, being connected in a certain way, no matter how far apart, instantaneously, then that's an argument for, magic and everything else from there.
Well, we rotate around each other. We totally dance with each other. That's what it's, that's what the atoms do, isn't it? Really, I mean, they actually dance.
See, the thing is, the atomist or the atom model, in my opinion, is the wrong one. It isn't billiard balls and atoms and neutrons and electrons and protons, and they're not little billiard balls. It's all waves.
Frequency.
And that's actually what quantum mechanics has finally gotten to. Paul Dirac, Alfred North Whitehead, even Tesla, Walter Russell. These guys all understood that the real, and this goes back to Keeley and even Faraday and Maxwell. Okay. They knew that everything was based on electromagnetism. It's an electromagnetic universe. That magnetic universe is all waves. Everything is a wave, and that's what they finally came to the conclusion with the current quantum mechanics, the theories, and the physics. They had to get to the point where they said, well, Schrodinger, the whole double slit experiment, is it a particle or wave? That debate is still going on. And it's based on observations. So what's happening is...
and limited, very much so, Freaky Geek.
Yes, completely wrong on every level. And this is not just science. This is archaeology, it's history, it's biology, all of it has been hijacked. And this is another part of the institutional breakdown that I was talking about. All of the things that we depend on, the governance, the finance, the judicial, the legislative, the entertainment, the academia, all of that is broke. It's all broke. It's all producing results that clearly demonstrate at an observational neutral position that something's not right. It ain't working well.
And it totally slows down progress.
Well, it creates the roadblock and pit holes on the road, right? But where was I going with that? I heard something else, somewhere else I was going, but
I have no idea.
So the key is this: data is the new oil and gold. And it has been for a while, but it's going to take over. It's going to be worth more than Bitcoin and everything else. But the cryptocurrencies are going to be the way that you manage the profit and loss of that of that information, because it's you. And that's where it has to start. It's got to start from the ground up. And until and I've got a design to do this where you have basically, it's me app, right? It's me on my app. And you can create the blockchain, digitize all your assets, and have yourself right there. And then you can exchange it with somebody else who has that, or some other company that has that. But what's going to happen too, which I think this is really important, the deconstruction of the infrastructure and the systems and the technology that we are currently using, that reconstruction into this decentralized, disintermediated, tokenized, secure interplay and interaction among everyone else is going to create a whole liberty and freedom for people to come together in their own self-organizing collectives, self-organizing communities. So you're going to have, like you have now, you've got groups, Facebook groups and so forth. You got people have Discords. Outside of that, you have like woodworking guilds and art guilds and musicians guilds. You have all these different groups of people with common interests that want to be able to maximize what they produce and their interaction with others that produce, and more particularly those that consume, right? Because everybody's going to want somebody else's stuff, especially if you put it out there. You're making something that people want to consume.
What if there's something that you did in your when you were younger I had 3 different opportunities to spend time in juvenile detention.
That's part of the thing is
Are
if
they,
in,
are they
right
that
now,
gonna be
if you,
available?
well, if that was in some court, some jail or whatever, a legal document,
I was
that would be
14,
available to put on there. And I got to tell you, if I have shit like that, I want control over it. If it's about me and something I did,
so that no one else can look at, take, or get your information unless you okay it.
that's correct. So you get all of your information, all of your assets in digitized form, and you only share what's necessary to engage in a transaction or an interaction, however you want to do it, with someone else or an entity. So you have control over that. You just go, okay, here's my wallet, right? Oh, I'm going to go do my car insurance. So what information does my car insurance company need? Check, check, check. Zap. There you go. You got it. Anything else? It's certified on the blockchain. It's authenticated on the blockchain. And it's that blockchain. Another point that Brian brought up that I didn't answer as clearly is the blockchain network. So what happens is there's going to be a shitload of thousands of computers that are grouped, and they'll have interaction with other groups. But there will be like a pool. They call it a blockchain network. And when you go and engage it with a network, your network may have to bridge to another network. So for example, the government's going to have its own network, and you're going to access information, and they're going to access information, but you're going to decide how much of the information that they say they want they have access to. And that goes for any other interaction, any other group.
Just like an A to Z directory, basically.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is now. That's what AI is.
Well, and presumably the way it is now, the government or the governments, they all control the whole ledger and flow of information. If you now have a separate decentralized blockchain ledger, then they can try to fudge things, but not anymore, because you now have a separate ledger. They can cook their books, but they can't cook your books at the same time.
And that's exactly right. And then that entity with their own blockchain, the government, they're only going to get information that people allow them to have. And so it's going to be more accurate, because it's going to be already your personal blockchain will be, or your personal wallet will be on a blockchain.
Also, too, wouldn't it be more favorable too on the same system that anything government financial is open to the general public for scrutinizing? Just you can look at it, you can say, okay, this is where the dollars are going. You're not getting a spool. You can actually see where that money's being spent. You can see what's coming in and what's going out, and it's your.
But only if they share it, right?
Huh?
Only if they share their information with us, because they're going to be on their own network.
Well, in order for them to get your information, you have certain requirements to their information. But the point is that you were saying, B, is that there's two things. There's going to be a clog. There's a current clog in the system because the systems aren't designed for the amount of information that's coming in, as well as the variety of that information. With blockchain, it just happens however it needs to happen, and it gets certified. So you are not going to have an issue. You will have the control, therefore no issue with the information that you're exchanging. But the other thing is that because it's immutable, because it can't be changed, if it's a government set of data, then you don't have to worry about transparency and accountability, because auditability is default. Right now, one of the biggest problems we have in most of our systems is it's unauditable. It doesn't matter if it's the government, the treasury, or the corporations, or the election system. None of it is designed to be auditable. you can't go in and verify the information that's in the system. You have to take it on trust. And that's complete bullshit. Because as we all of us know, because we've all been down the many conspiracy analytical events in our lives, and we'll continue to pursue them because there's still a few out there, although a whole bunch are getting taken out. Once you go look at data, I mean, the ability to go to look at the circumstances and then have questions is never been better, and it's going to be even more better.
Hey, listen, guys, can we just change subject just for a moment? Apparently, Jim's been saying earlier on there's some more exciting activities been happening about police, and I want to hear a bit more about it. We can come back to this again. We've just had a bit more variety to our conversation, and if that's okay with you guys.
I take personal offense at being apparently not being interesting enough.
Or you can take it. You can take a gate as well. If you want to take a fence, you can take a gate as well. Yeah. Anyway, Jim, tell us what's going on there, mate. What's
I mean, the way things are going, I couldn't ask for. It couldn't be any better. Don't have any money in hand, but everything else seems to be falling in line. But I will know more about that tomorrow or Monday.
Right.
So,
so what? I mean, who you're waiting to hear from, mate? I mean, if you don't mind me asking.
No, you have $10 million. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, mate, I just pull it out of my back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, his blockchain told him no. You got to get off. Talking to him.
He's sulking now. He's Robert sulking.
I have to refill and defill.
Okay.
When we was talking earlier, I know almost instantly if I like you. There's no, maybe a couple of weeks, whatever. No. I know instantly. Now you may be able to get on my good side and befriend me and whatever it is I didn't have that electrical connection, but you've improved enough, so we're real compatible. But I also feel about the same way of people that I absolutely have no fucking use for, and I look at them and I just want to. I don't have the ability to end your life, but my gosh, I wish God would just say, you're evil. Boom, you're gone.
I think we've all come across people like that nowadays. So honestly,
but most of them are in Congress.
Love it. Yeah. I think in government, full stop, not just in Congress, in governments around the world, I think they're all tarnished with the same brush, I reckon. I mean, they've got their political jargon, which they take no responsibility for the words that come out of their mouth. It's always "I believe" or "I've been told" or something, but they never say, "Oh, I'm only telling you what I've been told." I mean, a leader should tell you that, "Hey, this is what's happening," not "I believe so." I don't want to hear "I believe so" or "I believe." You know what I mean? That's all pass on. Or we're going to talk about it in the next meeting. But talk about what? I mean, what subject are you really? Well, we'll discuss that later on when we get in the meeting. We'll work out what areas we've got to look at. But they're not precise in what they're talking about. It's all riddles. It's like looking at a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, you don't know what the hell you're putting together until you start putting the piece together. And when you do start putting the piece together, you start seeing, well, this is a big friggin' turd on the table. It's a slide.
But you have to pick it up by the clean end,
Yeah.
There's no clean end. They're always using passive voice as opposed to active voice. Somebody will look into it. Studies are being done versus I will look into it. I will do something about it. And then not only do they use passive versus active voice to shirk responsibility, right, and to kind of pass the buck, but they also very, very rarely ever use any data, if you notice. It's very rare that you get a skilled politician anymore who's using the numbers of the demographics and the money and the budgets and how it's all working out. Now it's just kind of generalizations, but at the end of the day, that allows them to not take responsibility for anything. It's a know nothing position, but at the highest level.
Have you ever shook hands with a politician? Have you ever? I mean, it's like shaking hands. I mean, my wife's got a better grip than those people. They've got like wet hands, and it's like they're kind of they don't shake
like a
they
dish
tickle
rag.
their fingers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damp dish rag. Yeah.
Honestly, I'll be quite honest. They're a bunch of pussies, mate. They really are. And none of them have done a hard day's work in their whole life. Hey, they're good at playing mental games. They really are excellent at that. I mean, so are narcissists too. And this is what the world's why it's so RS rap shit, because we've got narcissists running the friggin' world. I mean, the population of the planet, basically, we go home, we want to be with our family, have a meal, and have a job to go to provide our family. We don't think of war. We don't think about, I want to hate America, or I want to hate Japan, or I want to hate China. We don't do any of that. We sit down at home. We just want to enjoy the day. Oh, I wonder what we can read tonight on our book, or what watch on TV, or wonder who's online at the moment. We're not talking about global conflict or throwing stones at each other. But yeah, the elite, the few, are playing this game and using us as pawns. And we're the innocent victims. I mean, it's the people that die, not the politicians. They've got their nuclear bunker to go straight down to as soon as it starts. You and I, we have to face the onslaught of it all, you know?
You know, it would be good. What's his face from Facebook is building it's $1 billion plus bunker.
I've seen
on
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg on Kauai, and it can survive a nuclear blast and whatever. Yeah, but it's if Kilauea goes, everything that on all the islands will be gone. And when I say when Kilauea goes, a number of years ago, I talked to a volcanologist there at the Kilauea Visitor Center, and he said, "You remember driving over the thing, the crack in the road, and we just with the arrow pointing down saying the rift?" And I said, "Yeah, this is back in the early '90s." He said, "You can't drive around there anymore because of the volcanoes venting today." But he said that crack, I can measure the increase in that crack with a Stanley ruler if I do it once every 2 months or 3 months. And sometimes it comes back, but sometimes it goes a little bit farther. He said, if that thing crumbles off piece by piece, it won't be catastrophic. If it breaks off entirely, which it did on the island of Oahu, you go on the windward side in the Kola Mountains, that debris goes out over 120 miles. And that was 400,000 years ago. But they said, if that chunk of the big island falls off, it's 60 cubic miles dropping down to 17,000 feet. He said a tsunami on the entire Pacific Rim, not just in the West Coast, but in the entire Pacific Rim, will be in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 3,000 feet.
Yep, another great flood.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, they got a half of Africa's got a bloody crack in it. But it's the continent's actually splitting in two.
Yeah, the Rift Valley.
Yeah,
the Rift Valley.
Yeah. And now I was actually reading day before yesterday about Yellowstone National Park, how it's actually intensifying there still. They reckon the actual ground's lifting. It's actually lifting like a blister, apparently. And, and the venison have moved out of the place. And, so.
So who here is a prepper?
Yeah. Hey,
who's prepping?
Hey, but I tell you, and what are you going to do? Hey, once all the shit hits the fan,
3 out of 5 ain't bad.
well, hey, mate, there's going to be, hey, you're going to be fighting each other. I mean, it's survival of the fittest, and it really is going to be survival of the fittest. And if you can't breathe the air at the end of the day, you're going to be dead anyhow. So, I mean, hey,
I don't know if I'd call it survival of the fittest as much as I'd call it the survival of the prepared. Because there's a whole bunch of fit people that ain't going to make it through this first round. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but eventually you're going to run out of bullets too, and you're going to run out of this and that. And then what about food and everything else? You know, I mean,
well, I don't think we're going to see that. I think that what we're going to see, I think we're going to. Here we go. I think we're going to see little pockets of crap. And little explosive events and places that get turned upside down, but I don't think we're gonna see any kind of zombie apocalypse.
And you got samurai swords too.
Well, that really sucks because I was hoping to shoot some zombies out in the front yard.
Well, you may get a chance. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's just I don't think it's going to be all over the place. But wherever it happens, it'll be a target-rich environment.
Yeah, it's going to be a mad world. I'd rather not be in it personally. Anyway, hey Jim.
Well,
and Jim, it's not going to be our problems, mate. Because hopefully by the time that shit happens, we'll be dead and gone, mate. So
yeah, well, I have 4 months. I have 4 months worth of food, and I'll probably. Next couple of weeks, I might get another couple months worth, just in case. I mean, because I think the warfare that's going to affect where I live. I mean, I live in Tucson. Okay, we're 100 miles from the border, but I've never seen any of the illegals in this area. They go up through Yuma, or they go up through New Mexico, through Douglas and that area.
Well, it's hard to see people that are on buses and planes and chartered stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes they sneak
hotels.
Through.
Yeah, yeah. So, but my neighbor said, "Hey, you ready?" And I said, for a couple of days at least. He said, "You block off the entrance to our neighborhood. There's two entrances by vehicle. One entrance, I get on my roof. I have it's Arizona, so I have flat roof parts and whatever. Good place to go up there with. I have a nice 223, and it shoots fairly accurately. And we can block it off with vehicles so people can't drive on it. My next door neighbor is an avid hunter. He has hundreds of thousands of round ammunition. I mean, he grew up in the Rockies outside of Denver. So he said, "No," I says, "if you need backup," says, I got a whole bunch of weapons too. So we're ready. We have water. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we have abundance of it. Plus, I have a swimming pool. And
like I said, I think we're going to see pockets of, all kinds of, nasty, smelly, pooey kind of stuff. But I think it's going to, if you remember the riots, the Summer of Love. Remember that? It was in 22, right? And that's when all these groups went and just torched and trashed
I was in Minneapolis during that whole event.
Right.
Yeah, and
I think we may see some of that, but the one thing that the people who use those tactics don't seem to, for whatever reason, don't seem to grok, is that once you do it once and it doesn't work out real well, the second time around, it's not going to be as easy because there's a bunch of people that are now going, "I've seen that before. I don't want any of that again." Because that is just, go ahead, Brian.
I really like the historical perspective here because when you look at the Summer of Love in 1969 and the Weather Underground and all that and the Black Panthers, to at least
Occupy Wall Street.
Well, and Occupy Wall Street later on in 2004 or whatnot, I think it was around. But those movements of yesterday were really led by people who I feel were kind of more, whether they were right or wrong, they believed they were right as revolutionaries. Today, it's a very different thing. We mentioned the migrants of today. They're not your typical migrant farm workers trying to send money back home. These are basically, a lot of these are military aged young men not attached. And there's something known as a Caligari plan, which is one way to destabilize a country is to bring in young military aged men who are not attached to basically help destabilize the economy and the culture. That's one argument. And then the other thing is we were talking about not just that, but there was another. What was it? A lot of people, they ask me for prepper advice, just kind of coming back to it. And I always tell people be inland and high ground if you can, and then preferably in ground if you can. And that's just location if you can help it. But then from another perspective, as Jim was speaking to, getting together with his buddies who have guns or resources, because as many guns as you have, if you don't have people to pull the triggers or to help dig the dirt to grow the food or take care of the animals, then that's not going to be much good either.
Yeah.
Completely agree. In fact, one of my regular axioms is the problem with most of the young folks is they can't even start a push mower.
Excuse me. Yeah. I can't tell you how many miles I pushed one of those damn things as a kid.
Yeah.
Well,
For $1.25.
So if you're familiar with that, then that statement probably makes sense, and it should, because if you've had any encounter with the majority of, I'm not sure what letters, it's just like the LGBTQ RSA. I've lost track and I can't keep track.
I think it's Z.
You brought me back. You brought me back to what I was going to say, Robert. Is what we have today is AstroTurf. These are fake movements supported by the George Soros types, the color revolutions.
Yeah, and you don't need a push mower for AstroTurf.
I'll tell you, look,
go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Money. Yeah, that's right. You don't need mowers for AstroTurf. You just need money to spread around. And then when they don't get these groups, they don't get their money. They're not paid to burn down the local gas stations and car dealerships. They get all angry and butthurt. They say, Soros, where's our money?
Exactly.
In 1976, I was working up in Broome, and I had some friends there. Was some Aboriginals, and they said, "Come on, we're going to go out for a walk." And when they go for a walk, it's like they call it a walkabout. But most of them think will go out and walk about for months. But this couple of guys, they says, "No, we're only going to do it for the weekend." And I said, "Okay, let me grab my gear." And he said, No, just your boots and your shirt, and that just come as you are. I said, "What about a water bowl?" No, forget about that. And off we went, mate. I tell you, what they showed me was absolute. They survived, mate. They can go up to a tree, pull up a root from a tree, and literally dig it with their hands, and then snap it, and it leaks, and then drink the water from the bloody root system of the tree, right? And you want to find water? Pick up a rock. You'll find it's going to be moist underneath. A rock has a habit of drawing moisture. And if you're thirsty and you really dry mouth, you put a stone in your mouth will water up. Your mouth will water up. It's like, for some reason, rocks have a habit of drawing water.
Yeah, and I thought that might be true when I was a little, but I always started with dirt. And I couldn't get enough moisture to get that dirt out of my mouth.
Yeah. No, but I was really surprised the stuff I couldn't stomach to eat. I mean, they were eating things like rigidity grubs. They're a long bloody grub, about 1.5 inches long, and about thick as your finger. Yeah.
Fill up.
Okay. and you know, I mean, the stuff they. I mean, then the most enjoyable meal I had on the old journey, they got this what they call a goanna lizard. You know, it was about 1 meter long, and they gut it, and then they just throw it in the fire, mate. And I tell you something, it tastes better than chicken. Chicken, honestly. And then we had also too on a second journey trip I done with them. Did with them. We had a what it what do you call them? Bloody snake and emu.
How's the emu?
Very, very gamey.
Yeah,
Tastes like
kind of tough.
yeah. Well, no, gamey and taste.
Gamey, yeah.
Shit taste, mate. Shit. I mean, locally down the road, or halfway down the freeway here, they've got actually an emu farm, and they actually make emu pies.
Well,
And
you know, you gotta know that the whole thing is spices and sauces, right? Because you know how do you eat roadkill? Barbecue sauce. I mean, you get enough sauce. When I was growing up, my dad
was telling me you've had roadkill.
And well, no, I haven't had. I may have, but I wasn't purposely having it. But my dad was one of the worst cooks in the world, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was drinking all the time. So he'd make meals, and everything. If it was meat, it had to be cooked to shoe leather. And I could, you know, it took a half a bottle of Heinz to choke that down. It took a full bottle to choke down the liver he'd cook. But literally, I mean, come on. Barbecue sauce, well, you can choke just about anything down, especially if it's good stuff.
Actually, believe it or not, one of my favorite dishes as a child was bacon and liver with onion.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, it was really the one I couldn't handle. It's called what was it called? Sheep's brains. There's another name for it. Sweetbread, I think they call it. Sheep's brains. I cut crumb sheep brains. I just could not get my mind.
That's a really good way to get prion disease, like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Yeah. Prions. How about emu eggs? Did you get to try any of those?
No, I haven't. But when we're talking about this stuff, but this is what preppers have got to start doing, though. They got to learn to live off the friggin' land. If there's going to be any food around, that is. And when I'm talking about live off the land, I'm talking about eating grubs. Like even ants have a nutrition. Even cockroaches, it's high.
Oh no, Terrence is on "You Will Eat the Bugs" kick. Here we go.
We're in for it now. I'll try to derail him with this. Hey, did you know? There's this big craze of all this plant-based meat, right? And everybody's making all this stuff. I'm confused. Cows eat plants, so isn't that plant-based meat?
Yeah.
So there's an alternative agenda behind that. Bill Gates is the world's largest owner of farmland, and then he's pushing this fake plant-based meat stuff, and then he's in league with these Monsantos and glyphosate and Roundup, and so for them it's win-win-win while they depopulate us. So it's there's an agenda, and then you've got the useful idiots who are proud that they're eating the fake meat, but ask them if they've tested it for glyphosates.
Have you seen the chemical makeup of what you're putting in your mouth? I mean,
well, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about everything's broken. Our entire food industry, all of the food conglomerates and cabal that are, I think there's 5 or 6 that own all the food. And all of them have created this process model that has taken out the good stuff, replaced it with filler stuff, which is very suspect and clearly highly toxic to the human condition. But our entire food system that we have been fed, from fast food to everything else, has been corrupted, and it's nasty shit. And over time, it's accumulated and I think caused a great deal, if not most of the physical ailments that most people experience, and particularly in the Western world. You don't see this going on in other countries that haven't succumbed to our crap. But we here in the States in particular, the diet, because of the processed food that has been made widely available and easy and even cheap, has caused the majority of the pain that everybody's going through physically. That is going to change with this new blockchain model. One of the industries that is a perfect fit for this, remember I called it content creation. Well, that can be anything. Well, the newly emerged CBD and cannabis market is highly regulated. You've got to know where you bought that seed, and you have to have record of when you planted it, who was around while it was grown, what did you use to grow it with, how did you harvest it, what did you harvest it with, and who did you sell it to. It's literally from seed to consumer. Same regulations essentially that are in the pharmaceutical industry. All the ingredients that go into all this.
Even stricter. And yeah, I'd say even stricter. And the thing is though that Robert, they've killed the weed industry and the CBD industry here. And what I like about what you're doing is it's not under their control. What they would do is they take something like what you're doing and they would use that to exert more control.
Yes.
They would do it centralized. What you're doing is you're taking, you're decentralizing it. But I wish like it was a model, like maybe a future model where we're tracking everything and we make sure we're smoking the good stuff is what it is. But right now they're just trying to track everyone, strangle it out of the industry and tax it to death. And in the meantime, it's hurt.
And there's in California, I hear there illegal weed shops are all over the place, disguised as legitimate operations or whatever. But they're killing the taxed weed production for pirating. Going back to good old days, but it's legal to you can't, you're not going to get or worry about getting busted if they find some weed on you. Now, if you have 25 pounds, they may be a little bit suspect, but you can always tell them, I have a real bad.
Well, the whole reason that it's illegal is bullshit to begin with.
Yeah,
this thing was created. In fact, it's I think the current sloppy Joe that's sitting up there in the chair, his admin released some new legislation, or maybe it was somebody in Congress, to drop the level 1 down to level 3 category of cannabis. Yeah. I'm not sure who it was, but I mean, it shouldn't even be. It should be free. And here's the thing. It has been the most productive and efficient and positive plant that human history has ever encountered.
Yeah.
It can be used for everything. It's a 4-to-1 ratio in pulp between trees and hemp. You got an acre of either, you're going to get 4 times the production out of that hemp field than you are the trees. Anyway, medicinal, I mean, there's all kinds of, and the reason a lot of this is finally gotten released and now can be restricted and controlled substance for consumption by the public, meaning, age and not being a felon. Or when I came to Colorado, I was thinking I'm going to get that medical cannabis license because those guys are getting the really good shit. And then I said, well, I'm going to go get a gun. And then I heard and found out that if you have a gun registration, they won't give you the license. It's like, what? What do you think? Do you think I'm going to smoke some weed and sit around? The only thing that may happen is I'm going to smoke some weed and sit on my porch with my gun. And anybody that comes onto my property, I might use it then. But do you think I'm going to go on some shooting spree because I smoked some weed? That doesn't happen. There is no evidence to support that.
And look, there's a well-known scenario. I mean, you go out and drink, you get violent, you do rape, you kill people, you're driving into people's cars and stuff like that. somebody that smokes weed, well, all he's going to do is sit down in his butt, laugh his head off, and bloody have a good feed.
He's going to be sitting there in the car watching the lights turn all the way through a cycle and not go anywhere.
laughing.
I mean, that's what Cheech and Chong did, right?
Wonderful.
But the freedom that's going to come with this model that I'm talking about is going to take that, and this ties into the whole prepper aspect and what Brian is doing. People are going to become more self-sufficient. They're going to realize that medication and medicine is something they can grow in their yard. They can grow in their house. They can change their entire existence. You'll have all the water you want. There will be no more water bill because in fact, there's I don't know if I loaded this video up, but there's a video that these guys just released this. It's the size of, the outdoor air conditioners, that you see inside of houses. It's the size of that, basically like the size of a washing machine. And it produces all the clean water you want. It just produces it all the time. Takes it right out of the air.
When I was a kid in Sydney, right, every household had a little chicken run at the back. We had our veggie patches, and most people had what they call a bore put down with the old hand pump, and that would be right, and that'd be right on your veggie garden.
Right.
You didn't have to run a hose, and you just pump your water up. Once water starts coming out of the pump, you give it six pumps. That's what my dad said. Give it 6 pumps. Once the water starts coming out, then he said leave it. Yeah, and that'd be enough water to run over your veggies, and because you build it on a kind of slope, and it just finds its way to the plants. And I tell you, mate, today people wouldn't even know how to grow a turnip. They wouldn't even know how to grow a carrot or a lettuce. They know how to grow weeds, not weeds, weed. You know what I mean? They've got no. I mean, there's nothing nicer than sit down and having a nice cooked chook on a Sunday, which they don't do anymore. And I'm talking about a chicken that's actually been homegrown, fattened up, and there's no hormones in it, and it tastes like real meat,
with barbecue sauce.
You don't need barbecue.
But maybe a nice marinade or some spices. But I think, to me, one of the real exciting things about this model I'm talking about is that once people have their sovereignty and identity and their assets all there, they're going to do that thing like we were talking about with Brian and have this holographic view of where and what their stuff is and who they are. I think people are going to get even more interested in being more self-examining and being able to leverage the information to go take care of themselves and do more for themselves, making themselves better people. In fact, I have a whole model on using this to go. It's called This Is Who I Am. You have a starting point, you get all the data in, and you look at it and you can analyze it. But then you can say, all right, now I would like to add this to who I am. And all the data points that are available for that, however you want to manage it and experience it, is just there for you to go do. So that sense of self, the sovereignty of self, through the tokenization of self, is, I think, going to open up a lot of people's minds. They're going to see the liberty and freedom of not having to worry about water, not having to worry about electricity or power or energy, and having instant communication to anyone around the world. Once that happens, there's going to be this exploration of all these different curiosities and ideas, the biases, preferences, the prejudices, and the peccadillos that everybody has. We all have those because those are the way we define what we resonate with, what we're attracted to.
Yeah. I got a question. Yeah. What's going to happen to all these people that provide all those services today?
They're going to have other things to do.
You can't have 2/3 or more of the working economy all of a sudden not have a place to go to work.
No, all of the sovereignty of self and the control of what is you. You sell your knowledge. You sell something you make. Somebody wants what makes you who you are. And that job is an example. You're getting paid to go do a function. Well, that function will be replaced. because that function is going to be axed because it's a choke point. It's causing friction in the system. It's going to evolve, and it will be, there will be pain, and people in a confusopoly trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, what do I do now? I used to do this, and shit, I don't know how to do anything else with that, and now I got to do what? There's going to be plenty of that. But personally, to bring them to make that, to be aware of it, and to make the choice to go do it is where the power is.
Personally, I don't think it's going to be too much of an impact because the way things are presently, I mean, you want to download things, music content or anything, it's all digitized already. We're not actually dealing with individuals, people. So you're not really going to put a lot of people out of work. Like on the scope kind of where there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people out of work on a particular company on a global sense, because once all this digital stuff is put into the system, it's there. You go and buy it, you put your credit details in. You've got the right to use it. I mean, it's like Netflix. You know what I mean? It's like.
Well, I think you make a great point there, Terrence. Right? I think when you say people aren't going to lose their jobs, you might want to talk to the people working in the local Blockbuster Video, right?
But that's that we're talking about something that was tangible, which you could hold in your hand. That was something you could hold in your hand. But at the same time, when computers came out, they said it was going to put a lot of people in the typing pool out of work. But but in a general sense, it created a bigger industry. Right. Technicians.
That's true.
Printers, scanners, you name it, everything, and computers themselves, and technicians. So that the spill off from that was far greater.
Right. The concept is less is more. The ephemerization of the secretarial pools, replacing them with, say, Salesforce, right, which then helps to cut down on a lot of bloat at corporations and frees those people up, presumably to hopefully do better, bigger, and better things. But then in Robert's case, when you've got it now as a holographic blockchain that's like tokenizing everything and acting as a ledger for everything, now that's like a more of a totally integrated system. It's like Salesforce on steroids for everything. Now the question is as long as it's decentralized and not controlled by some WEF New World Order cabal crap types.
Yeah, and it's something that won't just happen overnight. It's like when unleaded fuel came into the system. It was a transition, right? So over time, unleaded fuel became more popular, and now it dominates. Leaded fuel doesn't exist anymore, especially here in Australia. And it's the same thing with Robert's program. It will start off, and it's like a snowball. It will roll down the hill, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then but it gives time for other companies to adjust and to. I don't think people will be kind of laid off in a big way. I mean, people move on and changed it. I mean, how many jobs have you had in your life? How many things have you done in your life? We've all done things and cruised on and tried many fields, and I don't really think it's much of it. The only people that's really got to be worried about is those high executives on the high bills who expect a big bonus at the end of the year. When they realize they're not this year, they haven't made 350 million profit. Now their bonus is going to be slashed by more than half, and because they're not making those profits anymore. But there's still going to be an industry there for them, because some people don't want to change. Some people, it's like old people. I don't like using credit cards.
Hey, now what's that old people shit?
But it's true.
Speak for yourself.
I was in the memory business when they were switching from 8-inch floppies to 5 1/4, and how excited they were. And then I came back from I was working for a company called Nortronics. They made magnetic heads, and they were at one time one of the leading suppliers of all the magnetic heads used in cars, until they sold that technology to Japanese, and they started coming back with all their tape recorders and stuff. But I came back from Comdex 81 with a 3.5-inch diskette in my hand, and I said, Mervyn, this is the future. Oh, no, no, no. They've just spent all this money to go from 8-inch to 5.25. That'll never happen. Well, it was 5.5 years. Yeah, there's no, it was 11 years ago from 8-inch to end with 5.25 inch, and then it was 5.5 years going from 3.25. I mean, the 3.5-inch diskettes to downloading on the internet, and that thing just kept getting faster and faster and faster, and be able to move more data. The amount of data, I can remember working with somebody at Shugart when they were trying to get a 5.25-inch slot hard drive with 7 platters, and they were hoping to get a 0.5 terabyte. Well, I have a little thing. It's about this big that I can put a 0.5 terabyte today as a consumer. The guys that you don't want to acknowledge, the ones that sort of creep around it, around dark, in dark shadows, around corners at night. Those are the guys that have the technology. I was told, and I've seen it firsthand a couple times, that when the consumer world gets a new this is effing just unbelievable, and all sorts of bells and whistles, where our military was using it 20 years ago, and now what you're seeing. I know one of our engineers in electronics worked on the it was a an NKC 135, and it was the Airborne Laser Lab. And he had physically worked on it down at Kirkland, and he had left, and it had only been about 3 years, and he was our hard disk guy. And there was a thing on 60 Minutes, and I get an interview inside the NKC 135 talking about stuff that 5 months earlier, AWACS, 5 years or 6 years earlier, it was classified top secret. You had to sign all sorts of paperwork, saying you could never divulge anything. And I think it's a NKC 135A, serial number is 53. Oh shit! No, that's the wrong one. I have to remember. I can't remember the last ones where I would. My brain isn't working right now, but it's that was the original airborne laser lab. It's now sitting at the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. So it's a very cool machine. It worked, but the chemicals used. I mean, the 747 that the YAF-1, I think it was it. Or the Airborne Laser Lab, 747 with a turret in the nose. Whatever they were using for propellant was so toxic. That 747, I think it was a 400, had less than 1,400 hours on it. And they felt it was better taking the engines, which are the most expensive part, and maybe the forgings, and then scrap the rest, because it was so contaminated that it would never, it would cost more to decontaminate it than to just chop it up. Well, my question, yes, what did they do with the chopped up 747? Now the wings aren't be contaminated. It would be just the pressure.
Well, if it was a Boeing plane, we know that they have a part replacement program.
Yeah.
That is
in some guy's yard.
Is rather random and spontaneous. So hey, speaking of that, B asked me to what I wanted to talk about, and I said, all this bullshit that especially B rants on about, God, does he get going on how pissed he is about the elites keeping us in the dark? And, he has just had enough of, all of their shenanigans and, their inability to be honest and truthful and help treat us
no integrity at all.
Treat us like the sheep that we are.
Yep.
I mean, talk about cojones, right? I mean, what is that all about? Well, let me share some good news for you. Let's see here. Tried that. So tell me if you see that.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna. This week was the meeting the meeting of creeps over in Davos, Switzerland, at the WEF, right? And it's a big deal. All the elites, the global whatever they are, the G this, F that, they got all these little cliques and groups that they all get together. Hey, Karen, thanks for jumping in. All these folks, that get together and they have their little posh thing and have their little meetings and discuss whatever they think they're going to control and all that good stuff. Well, they didn't have a really good week. They had some folks in there calling them out. And I personally enjoyed not only the call outs, but some of most of them, the way they were done. And by the people that did them was it was brilliant. It wasn't somebody, getting up and saying you're, doing a Thunberg on them. These were measured, considered, thoughtful statements aimed directly at those who needed the statements aimed at. So I loaded up a few and I'm going to share them with you. This first one is, down in Argentina, they got themselves a new boss in the town, right?
Oh boy, do they.
Javier Milei, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he basically pulled a Musk on Argentina after he got into office. Musk is famous and he doesn't get enough credit for this because nobody who thinks about, having any kind of performance, let alone an optimal performance in whatever job or responsibility they have, they don't want to hear that somebody can go in and whack 80% of the infrastructure and have it not only function, but function better. Right? They don't want to hear that because that's not how they operate. Well, this guy, Milei, went down to Argentina, pulled a Musk. I think he canned like 50% of the agencies and departments down there as soon as he was in. And then he goes to Davos and he says this.
The president of Argentina.
Can you hear it all right?
He gave the World Economic Forum a lot more than they were bargaining for when he addressed their conference at Davos. South America's answer to Donald Trump, he gave it to Klaus Schwab and his henchmen with both barrels. He told them that the West was abandoning freedom for socialism, which he warned only ever produces poverty and piles of corpses. Then he slammed radical feminism for its gender quotas. He slammed the environmental movement for demonizing human beings. He slammed universities and media for promoting social justice, which he told them typically ends with injustice. And then he concluded by telling them he had come to invite the Western world to return to freedom, economic prosperity, and limited government. Have a listen to how he concluded.
Do not be intimidated either by the political class or by parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. Do not surrender to the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. You are the true protagonists of this story. And rest assured that as from today, Argentina is your staunch, unconditional ally. Thank you very much, and long live freedom. Damn it.
Brilliant.
Long live freedom. Damn it. Liz, could this guy get any better? And Klaus Schwab, he must have been squirming in his seat.
Absolutely. Milei literally climbed into the belly of the beast just to implode. There was a lot of people disappointed that Milei was going to the WEF at all. It was like, why is this guy visiting Davos? This is exactly why he did it. He did a Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes but WEF version. This guy lectured them on the wonders of capitalism and how can you oppose it when it's dug so many millions out of poverty. He lectured them on the core values of libertarianism. Every single one of those core values, of course, is something that the WEF vehemently opposes. This guy couldn't get any cooler, and they keep trying to denounce him across the world as saying, oh, he's a Trump-like figure, unless you've been living under a rock for the most recent few weeks. That's a compliment. The guy's winning. He's on top. Absolutely loved this.
Has it convinced you, Joe?
Well, I think he was being undone. He was being undermined by his translator, because at the very end he was obviously wanting to say, "Long live freedom, damn it!" But the translator goes, "Long live freedom, damn it!"
It was like his William Wallace moment, you know.
"Long live freedom, damn it! Where are my car keys?" And, but it's a very interesting thing. I mean, obviously he's great fun. He had me at the sideburns. He's awesome. These guys are amazing to watch. And the lesson for the left, though, and again, is that the reason why figures like this emerge, who they hate so much and fear so much, rightly or wrongly, is because they go so far in the opposite direction that it makes someone like Jair Bolsonaro or Javier Milei or Donald Trump or Brexit look good by comparison.
Yeah.
And again, they just don't get it. You know, the fascist parties of Europe, of Italy, the Nazi Party in Germany rose up as a response not to Western liberal democracy, but to Bolshevism. It rose up in response to the Russian Revolution, and people scared witless that what happened in Russia was going to happen there, and that only a strong right-wing party like the fascists or the Nazis could protect them for it. That was a key ingredient to their success, and yet the left just never ever learns this, and it seems to go further and further in ridiculous directions, which again makes these guys seem less crazy by comparison. But also, when I think if it's two crazy options, you know, well, I don't want X, Y, and Z. And you can pick whatever woke policy or crazy policy, like people losing jobs because of climate change, or, you know, suddenly not being able to say what's a man or what's a woman anymore. So
you'd be crazy to write the Argentinian president off, though, as crazy, because if you listen to him speak, I mean, he's brilliant at, like Trump is, he's brilliant at cutting through. He can do all the, you know, made-for-media hustle and bluster. But when you listen to him speak, he's actually very intelligent. He backs up all of his arguments with facts and figures.
Yeah, he's an economist.
And he's an economist. Yeah, he's no dill at all.
Absolutely. And something that...
So thoughts on that first one?
Excellent.
Yeah, he's and the commenters even saying this is a guy who uses active voice, and it's kind of funny because this is something you tend to see from politicians, especially of the more revolutionary bent, coming from Latin America. Yeah, they're coming from Latin America as a response to the basically rape of Latin America.
He's the real deal. He's the real deal. You can see.
Well, here is, I'm not going to play all this. This is his full presentation, so I can provide the link. It's this is from the New York Post. It's 22. This is his whole pitch is 22 minutes long.
In recent decades,
but this is the group that he was saying all that shit to.
I get a lot of remote viewers from his security team if I was him.
Motivated by the wish to be.
So that's one. Now, another interesting thing that happened was, whoops, hold on. Let me go back to where I was. I got my other screen. Another thing that happened was Jamie Dimon. And this guy, you know who he is. He's the CEO of JP Morgan. He's probably has the most important and biggest financial position in the world, at least in the public eye, right? Well, he had a few things to say.
Voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. Now, if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked. Yeah. He was right about some of China. I don't like what he did.
No, I said China virus.
Yeah, I understand. He may have been right. And I don't like how he said things about Mexico. I don't like, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues. And that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. And when you guys have people up here, you should always ask why. Not like it's a binary thing. You're supporting Trump, you're not supporting Trump. Why are you supporting? The Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really, like, can we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect. And I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election campaign.
Yeah, it is.
So, what'd you think of that one?
Money talks, and here's and he's the head of one of the big banks that everyone assumes if banks were going to get bailed out, JP Morgan Chase would be at the top of the list. And for him to basically go against the rhetoric of the Democrats who are presumably in power right now, really shows you that money talks. And he's like, F your politics. I want to make sure my bank and banking industry in this country's economy isn't crap, because that's what's a banker going to care about, even if he is a New World Order banker.
Well, the thing is, even in Australia, we could see that when Trump was in power, we had a big laugh. We laughed about him, the way he used to turn around and say, fake news. I mean, we thought he was a bit of an arrogant prick, but excuse my expression. But what we could see from an Australian perspective, he actually produced a lot of work, and he was pulling companies out of China, and he was actually giving it back into the hands of the American public. And he's a businessman. He ran the country like a business, and he knows that if prosperity is good in America, Americans are going to buy property. And what does he do? He sells property. He wants the economy to be good because he's going to benefit from it. And not just him, other businesses are going to benefit. When people are benefiting, they got money to spend. And then you got the boom, Well,
and this is what I think part of Diamond's point. The demonizing of the people that they're demonizing are the ones who actually have jobs and make money and are productive and are the part of our, at least the fabric of the United States, but it blends over or bleeds over into all the other Western economies as well, in my opinion. Yeah. And that is the people the farmers, the stuff that's going on in Germany, in Denmark. I mean, the people that actually do stuff. This is what I called it was about 2 years ago now. I said, we're going to see the rise of the pissed off peeps. And that is going to be a ground up, pun intended, movement that is going to create an energy wave that is right now rippling around the planet. We are seeing it, and we're seeing it not only at the grassroots level and at the middle, however you delineate that, all the way to the top now. Here you've got this. We just heard the Argentinian president go in there and go, y'all is wrong, and we're not going that route. We're going with the freedom and the liberty and getting off our ass and getting stuff done. Then we heard the same thing from Diamond, and he's basically saying, look, if you're going to take this message, it's going to hurt you, and it's going to make these people even more agitated. And they're the engine that you depend on. They're the ones that make stuff and make things go. Because it's none of the progressive liberal elite or the progressive liberal left model. These people are looking for entitlements. They deserve stuff because of the identities that they've adopted by people who have crafted them to control them. And they don't realize it. That's why they can't start a push mower. So here's another gem from Davos. This guy is from the Heritage Foundation, which is known as a conservative group, but they are all over the climate change scam. So this guy's at Davos from the Heritage Foundation and says this.
Describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. It's equally standing up for it. It's equally laughable to use the word dictatorship at Davos and aim that at President Trump. In fact, I think that's absurd. But I'm going to step aside from that constructive criticism and instead answer your question. Yep. And I'm going to be substantive here. President Trump, if he's the next president, for that matter, I think whoever the next conservative president is going to take on the power of the elites, which I mentioned earlier. But the thing that I want to drive home here, the very reason that I'm here at Davos, is to explain to many people in this room and who are watching, with all due respect, nothing personal, but that you're part of the problem. Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y. Take immigration. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. They're right. President Trump will take that on behalf of the average American. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. President Trump will take that on. Thirdly, I guess the favorite at the World Economic Forum is climate change. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change, so much so that climate alarmism is probably the greatest cause for mental health crisis in the world. The solutions, the average person know, based on climate change are far worse and more harmful and cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves. Fourth, 2 more here, Robin. The fourth, China. The number one adversary, not just to the United States, but to free people on planet Earth. Not only do we at Davos not say that, we give the Chinese Communist Party a platform. Count on President Trump ending that nonsense. And fifth, as we sit here, another supranational organization, the World Health Organization, is discussing foisting gender ideology upon the global South. These are practices that are under review, if not being rejected, by countries in Northern Europe. The new president, especially if it's President Trump, will, as you like to say, trust the science. He will understand the basic biological reality of manhood and womanhood. And do you know why? Not because of retribution, not because he's a dictator, but because he has the power of the American people behind him. And it's connected to Senator Portman's excellent point that in addition to needing a vigorous executive, we look forward to having the popular will inform both the House and Senate in 2025 to pass laws on all of those issues and many others. Ultimately, Robin, I think President Trump, if in fact he wins a second term, is going to be inspired by the wise words of Javier Milei, who said that he was in power not to guide sheep, but to awaken lions. That's what the average American and the average free person on planet Earth wants out of leaders.
Okay, thoughts?
That should scare the hell out of them.
That's powerful.
I love
They're
it.
good. Mm.
I mean, it's true. He did it before. He did it with not knowing who the opposition was. He was lied to and stabbed in the back by so many different entities. I'm surprised he was, he didn't bleed to death, even though they were arrows of traitorism, being
well,
traitor,
they had to package it in a
treason.
way that they had to package it in a way that, made him look bad, because one of the key components of fundamental components of all the noise that's crafted towards trashing whoever you are, because you don't agree or you're not saying the words that they want you to say, from to Trump. All of it has been designed to create a mental image that makes people not want to be there. So it doesn't matter. That's the key to persuasion, is creating a narrative that guides people's thoughts and their emotions to feel a certain way, whether it's true or not. So this guy, in fact, all of them, Mei Lee, Jamie Dimon, and this guy from the Heritage, I don't know about you guys, but every one of them sounded very lucid, very aware, and very intelligent, and in command of what they said.
It shows you where their allegiances lie, at the end of the day. And the other side, these elites and whether, the extremist rhetoric, in this case, the Democratic side, calling everyone who would vote for Trump a deplorable or a basement dweller. That's reactionary, and they can't help but be reactionary, because the truth of all the nastiness lurking in their closets, and with the Bush family too, so it's the Republicans as well as the Democrats, but those truths are so ugly that they have to get us to believe that 2 + 2 = 5, because the more people are locking onto the truth and the reality, and we uncover what's really going on, they can't have that. And so the closer a Trump or anyone or a Milei gets to upsetting their apple cart, the more rabid and raucous they're going to become.
Well, yeah, and don't you think it's interesting, though, that all of a sudden, particularly in the last week, and I've got another piece from COP28 at the end of last year that is just brilliant, because the Saudi prince was on a Zoom call, and he was the organizer. It was happening in his country. He was a big dog, and there's old British woman telling him what he needs to say, the position that he needs to take at the conference, particularly in the direction of the impact that climate change is having on women, on the female condition. And this guy was just brilliant. I'll play it later, but here's another one. So do you follow my theme? There's some good stuff going on, and it's happened just recently. The words, in my opinion, the words that are being spoken to the crowds they're spoken to, and all of the other crowds like us tonight, being able to see it ourselves and go, wait a minute, that was that person in their own words. You can read body language. You can, you can hear it and think of it for yourself. And this is important because it's all in the places to the people that have got everything all screwed up. So it's like they're getting a real healthy dose, in my opinion, of thoughtful, rational, reasoned thinking, articulate messages that say, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Time's up. Time's up. That's what it's selling him.
Right?
Time's up.
So here's David Rubenstein over there. He's a billionaire and TV dude, I guess. And here's what he had to say.
That he's a serious political force and should not discount the fact that he could well be elected again.
We are talking too much about Donald Trump in Europe, and we should prepare ourselves for a possible second term.
The fundamental difference between Trump in 2016 and Trump in 2024 is that the environment is so much more dangerous. There are major wars going on. The ability of Trump to cause so much more damage through his volatility is so much higher than it was before.
In Davos, Donald Trump is already the president. That's a good thing, because Davos, the Davos consensus is always wrong. I believe if the institutions hold
George Soros'
this
son.
election, he'll also being a candidate in 2028 and maybe even in 2032 as well. Because what's the way out for him? He either winds up in prison or he winds up in power.
I think the best defense, if that's the way we want to look at it, is attack.
Let's bring in the author of The Dying Citizen, How Progressive Elites, Tribalism, and Globalization.
If you guys haven't heard
the
Victor
idea
Davis
of
Hanson,
America.
you're in for a treat.
Victor Davis Hanson. Victor, listening to these snots and snobs sitting over in Switzerland, what do you make of their yakking about Trump?
I think they're so incoherent when you hear things about there's all these wars going on and Trump could make it worse. They're completely clueless. When Trump was there, it's the first time in 4 administrations that Putin didn't go in across anybody's borders. We had no problem with Chinese balloons coming across the United States. Hamas didn't dare go into Israel. Hezbollah was not rocketing. Iran was facing really tough sanctions. So I guess to sum up their attitude is they would rather be wrong and have a terrible situation or landscape around the world, but not have Donald Trump president, rather than to have calmness with Trump president. The other subtext is these elites, both abroad and here at home, Gagan, I think the one common denominator is they have enough money and influence that they're never subject to the consequences of their own ideology. So they feel we're like lab rats, the rest of the country, the rest of the world, and they can experiment with climate change, DEI, ESG, all of these nostrums that don't work, but don't affect them when they go wrong.
It's a great point, Victor. And what I look at this, these people don't care about the American economy. They don't care about the American worker. They don't care about American freedom. They do care about a one world government, and they do get offended when Donald Trump talks about putting America first, because if America's first, then they aren't first.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we subsidize the entire defense of Europe, and the more that we subsidize them, and the more that Donald Trump finally made them pay $100 billion more for their own defense, they got angry at him, and they wouldn't be in. They would have been lost if they hadn't had that extra increase in munitions when Putin invaded. So it's so incoherent. They hate him so much that they're willing to destroy their own political landscape or their own futures just so they can say Trump is not going to be president, or he's awful. And we see the same thing here in the United States. They prefer Biden, given all the damage he'd done, rather than to have things that worked under Trump.
Well, fascism was a word that the left and the elitists like to use when describing President Trump. But in fact, the economy that Joe Biden has created with $6 trillion plus in spending in the last 3 years is economic fascism, straight from Benito Mussolini. It is a political subsidy economy. It is an industrial policy that has enriched corporate elites. It has enriched those cronies of the left, and it has impoverished those who have to work for a living. And to quote something you said, and it's a very deep and broad statement, Victor, these ideologues believe they're morally superior and smarter than anybody else, and therefore we're entitled to do things other people do not do.
Yeah, they've set a premise that Donald Trump is so toxic that any means necessary are justified. Take him off the ballot, indict him 4 times at local and state and federal prosecutors, impeach him twice, Russian disinformation, laptop disinformation, you name it. And that's all justified because he's arbitrarily constructed as a threat. And we know that he's a threat because he would solve the border problem. There wouldn't be crime in the streets. We would try to have deterrence again. He would restore deterrence abroad, and we'd be energy independent at the expense of the Russians. They would really not like that if he pumped more oil and crashed the world price. So that's it. Just is so frustrating, and they're so incoherent and arrogant, and yet they're so limited and mediocre. They just say the same things. They learn nothing. They forget nothing. They're boring, they're banal, and I think they understand now that nobody's listening to them anymore.
But they are dangerous. But as we talked about, Davos can't stop talking about Donald Trump, but neither can Team Biden. Listen to what Biden's 2024 co-chair said just this morning.
Donald Trump is hoping that American citizens have collective amnesia, that when he was president, he basically presided over chaos and destruction. And he thinks the American citizens are going to forget that. Donald Trump always paints a mythical picture of a past that never was and tries to convince you that that's good for you. And everybody in America knows that that's not true.
Victor, Donald Trump is relying on the people don't have amnesia. They remember his economy and how great things were, the upward mobility, the kind of salary increases that they had with really low inflation. He wants them to remember that. And when they talk about chaos,
paid to say it.
The chaos was created by the left with Russia collusion, impeachments, all of the questions from the media driving a narrative on Donald Trump. I go back and look at what happened in the press room, questions from the left to Donald Trump about Russia collusion, and how calm he was actually answering their BS lying questions to him. Donald Trump didn't create chaos. He created prosperity for people.
He did. We don't have a porous border. We don't have a border. They destroyed it. They know they did. I think part of the problem and the anger is they project onto Donald Trump. The way they think, they're thinking right now, if we had done to Donald. We know what we did to Donald Trump. If they had done that to us and we were going to gain power again, we would go back and take revenge and retribution and weaponize the FBI, the DOJ like we did before. And that's what Donald Trump must do, because he must think like us. So but he doesn't. For all his tough and sometimes crude rhetoric, he's not a revengeful president. He never weaponized these agencies. He never tried to have FBI people work with Twitter to suppress the news that he felt was unfavorable. But they think we're going to be, Donald Trump thinks just like we do. And we know what we would do if we got power again. We would go full bore and try to weaponize the government. And therefore, he must be doing that too. And he's not. And that's what's so frustrating to them.
This lawfare, speaking of that, is not going so well. In your latest column, Victor, it focuses on the concept that the left has yet to understand. Quote, prosecutors are discovering that the more they seek to rush to judgment before the election and gag Trump from speaking publicly about these proceedings, the more he rises in the polls. But in the column, you pick apart these cases, and this lawfare, it's falling apart.
Yeah, I think it is. Everybody said that Fannie Willis's case was the jewel in the crown. It was the strongest, and it's going to implode given her behavior and unethical and probably illegal conduct. And when we look at Jack Smith's, he's trying to hasten the case to time it with the election, gag orders. I don't think that's going to work. And people say, you know, I think everybody understands that Bragg and Letitia James are just vindictive. They've never, I mean, there's nothing to them. And they don't realize that every time one of these stumbles or fails, they don't go back to square one. They're force multipliers of each other, and they turn off the people. So when you take him off the ballot, or you have these 4 indictments, and after you've impeached him, and after the laptop, and after collusion, and people just say, you know what? This is incremental. These people are pathological. They won't stop. And they think that, well, we just threw a bunch of stuff out there and see what stuck. We'll keep doing it, and finally something will stick. It doesn't work that way. They're destroying their reputations, their credibility, and that's why Donald Trump is ahead of Joe Biden in the polls, even though he has 100% negative press coverage in the mainstream media, and he controls none of our institutions, not academia, not entertainment, not the corporate boardroom. They own all of that, and yet he's still ahead in the polls.
Which is why the left is losing their mind. Victor Davis Hanson, you are a national treasure. Thank you for joining us on The Bottom Line on this Friday night. We are great.
All right, gentlemen, thoughts?
I love it. I mean, I've always enjoyed listening to him or read his articles whenever he publishes them. And I like the way he thinks. So,
Gerald, what do you think?
Oh, I'm right in there with him. I mean, what better way, like you were talking about the first clips, you know, go in there and have a fire sale and do this thing like Elon Musk and Trump does, go in there and just redesign and remodel everything. I mean, that's what we do to infrastructure. When something's broke, we go in there and rebuild it. Well, that's what they're doing, but in a different way than the old school.
That's basically one of the creeds of being a prepper.
I mean, one of the things. I mean, yeah, one of the things he promised to do was to move the headquarters of agriculture to the center where agriculture is. I mean, you're no longer going to have your executive suite reserved at the local Marriott there in D.C. So when you saunter into town, no, you're going to be in Beulah, North Dakota. And I have been there. I spent 3 weeks there. Oh God!
Do we have our own concentration camps up there?
No, this is when they were building Synfuels.
Yeah,
and they used all of our equipment and maintained it. At the time, it was the largest construction project in North America, and there was 4,000 guys, primarily that worked there. And I walked into the Best Westerns restaurant, which was huge. I walked there in a suit and a tie, and all of a sudden people started throwing stuff at me. I said, wait a second. I ran out. I took the tie off. And I put the jacket on my thing, and I came. Is that better? Yeah, but don't ever do that again. And that
So,
that was wild. That's
So Brian, what do you think so far? What have you heard Victor before?
I'm not sure if I've heard his exact commentary. I agree with everything that he's saying. I particularly love the clip of the Biden guy talking about collective amnesia and basically,
all right. Oh my God. You'd have to be living in a cave.
Yeah, well, it's gaslighting. It's not. He's basically doing an MK Ultra handler thing, which is basically rewriting reality and resetting it the way he wants to define it. And the sad thing is, he may be so pathological he actually believes the shit he's shoveling.
I think that you kind of have to be to some degree in order to me. There's a great guy up in Canada, Gad Saad, Saad. Writes some great books. His latest one is the Parasitic Mind.
She's a doll.
Speaking of, I myself am about to sign off, but I wanted to say hi Heidi and bye Heidi, and thanks for having me on, everybody.
Brian, see you next time.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep, thanks for having me on, Terrence.
Anytime, mate. You know that.
I'm Mr. B.
Okay, catch you later, buddy.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing about all this is that the other side that's keeps investigating and bringing up all these charges and everything, because they're doing stuff based on what they do, not what Trump does. Because he's
the thing is, there probably isn't a politician on the planet that has been investigated more, and all the money they spend trying to dig up dirt, they have come up with zero.
Butkus.
Yeah, that just tickles the shit out of me. It really does.
The thing is, what I like to see within, I mean, more so in American politics, but also on a global sense, when a global economy crashes, everything should be frozen. When I say frozen, I'm talking about mortgages. Call it extended. In other words, if the recession goes for something like 2-3 years, your mortgage gets suspended for 3 to 4 years. People like Citibanks and all these other institutions should not have the right say, hey, you've been paying 18 years worth of mortgage here. Now out of the 18 years of mortgage, we need that money now that's owing on the rest of the house because of our economic situation. They can foreclose you, say, pay up. And that's wrong, because what actually happens, these people that's either been in the house for either 18 or 20 or 23 years, they turn around and they say expect them to pay off the balance of that house, right? Now that we're talking about working class people, bills to pay, and these people can't. So they say their mortgage gets foreclosed. That house gets repossessed. Now, while that house is repossessed, right, now the interest rate starts accumulating to the point where these people are now either renting or they're living on the street, can't afford to pay off the balance of the house or catch up with the interest anymore. The bank takes it back. And then once the economy starts off again, the bank has the right to resell that property. And the cycle starts all over again and over again. And this is where the problem is, because the amount of people, good, hard-working people that actually lost their jobs because of a crashed economy, all of a sudden, no fault of their own. I think it's just basically bad management, political management, and bad banking. The elites are basically deliberate. The banks don't lose money. These elites don't lose money. They make money out of people losing money. They make it. And then they resell that property at a higher market rate, and the system starts all over again. So one house could have been repossessed 3 or 4 times over the lifetime of that house. And it's sad that happens. And the government should come in and say, okay, this guy lost his job through the economy. Okay, we're going to freeze it. Or there's an economy. It should reach a percentage and it should be frozen.
The only thing that I'm going to say to that, B, is that you don't want the same people and system that has created this crap to fix it. They need to go.
I totally agree, but they also need the protection that the new whatever the new system is should be there to protect the working class man in his home environment.
Well, it's to protect everybody.
Exactly,
and
exactly.
that once one of the two terms that are getting tossed around and mixed together, and people don't know what they mean, is either equality or equity. That's the whole thing with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then the ESG, well, that's the environmental and social governance. I mean, they keep coming up with these terms that are nothing more than packaged little constructs of control. They're trying to say, we know that what's not working is got to change, so we're going to come up with this new way to think about stuff. The problem is, it's like Victor said, they're so narcissistic and thinking that they only know what's right, that they can't see that they're wrong, and that's what's happening. And
the corruption, and it's all wrong because look, you're a billionaire, right? How's a billionaire make lots of money? Well, he doesn't necessarily have to own a company anymore. All he's got to do is sell 30,000 shares and watch the shares sell 30,000 shares at the highest rate. Watch the shares plunder down to a lower rate and then buy them back.
Well, that's just one of the ways in which the money cycles and gets laundered. And I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's scams up the wazoo. And the main reason
that
these
hurts.
scams, yeah, ask Jim, he knows. That's one of the main reasons that this is it's incredibly important, and it's going to be painful. When you return the power of the self, of your assets. So think about it like this. In this new model, you will be your own bank. You will have assets, and you'll have a mechanism with which to value those assets that are agreed upon across the blockchain with all of the entries that you do, all the tokens. And then that you are now, because think about it, when we go to a bank now, we go to some place that is empowered or has the ability to give out chunks of money under terms and conditions. Okay. That is completely backwards. You need to be the one that's determining what a value that you have that you're going to negotiate with to get whatever exchange of assets that you're looking for. The reason the whole the currency model, and here's an interesting one. I'll just throw this little turd on the table. When you think about, we have this term called currency, right? That's some material thing that we exchange, and now it's become digitized, right?
Yep, tangible assets.
But it's a tangible asset, and now we've given it an intangible ID in the form of ones and zeros out across the interweb, okay? Wherever those systems are, where our data is that we don't own, that we can only access if we have a password. I mean, it's all backwards. It's all out there. What'll happen with the system is it'll come here, and then you'll be able to control the access out there. Okay?
That's one thing from an intelligent person. But there's a lot of dullars out there that couldn't hit their ass with both hands.
Well, the thing is
they're gonna have to adapt. I mean,
well, they're gonna have to. The thing is that first of all, you got to remember that it's not everybody's time. You're not going to be able to save everyone, and because it's just not their time. And they may be, as Morpheus told Neo. Remember when you go in there, he was going into the pods where they were all in the goo. Remember when you go in there, not everybody is going to want to get unplugged. And in fact, some of them will fight to stay plugged. So you gotta use some discernment, some discretion, right? So the whole idea of what we are going through now, what I'm trying to show with these clips, is that to me, when you think about the narrative that we are all pummeled by, how chaotic, inconsistent, plain out nuts, but a lot of volume and a lot of velocity. You're getting a lot of it and it's very loud. But all of it is like, no, that shit doesn't make any sense. We just listened to, I don't know, 15 minutes or so of individuals speaking logic in a calm, reasoned, and well-delivered way that we all agree with. There hasn't been anything that any of these people they've said and that we've watched. I'm 100% down.
Yeah.
Everything has been exactly the way I would say it if I was talking about that set of circumstances and I had the knowledge and information to do so. So this is happening now. In fact, I got two other quick ones here. Let's see. Here's this one. Here's the Poot. The Poot had a few things to say recently. Let's have a listen.
But the people inhabiting these territories, you know that even better than me, have always identified themselves as nothing but as a part of Russia. That's why the voting results were like that. This is an obvious thing. That's why the voting results were like this. I always talk about this. Nobody can force you to come to the polling station. Probably everything can be rigged, just like the previous US elections were rigged through mail voting. It is clear.
That's throwing a turd on the table, isn't it?
Ballots for $10.
Yeah, listen to what he said right there.
Through mail voting.
Let's see.
Everything can be rigged, just like the previous US elections were rigged through mail voting. It is clear that it was voting by mail. They bought ballots for $10, filled them in, and without any supervision from observers, they threw them into mailboxes, and that's it. But it's impossible to force someone to come. You can't force anyone at gunpoint. If people didn't want to, they simply wouldn't have come to the polling stations, that's all. This is called voting with your feet, that's all. Here they came and voted. What is this other than democracy? The expression of the people's will is democracy.
So, what did you think of that?
I thought he was a white hat from day one.
Well, actually, you guys have lost your democracy, man. That's what I see. Well, that's what I'm getting from it.
Well, we haven't lost it. People have been trying to take it, but what I'm seeing here, and this is the kind of vibe I'm seeing just about everywhere. So this is just my opinion of the observation that I'm seeing. But there's a whole bunch of people that are saying shit that 2 or 3 years ago you would have been banned, blocked, kicked off, censored, suppressed, pissed on. I mean, and then exposed. And trashed, and
fact check is the word.
Holy shit! And what's interesting is that all the people and stuff that they tried to shut down back then have all of a sudden sprung up on all these other places, and they are getting massive attention. Carlson, Russell Brand, Rogan, of course, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson. All of these people are getting way more attention than they ever got before they were banned. So it's like, well, let's see, based on your performance so far, seems to me that if you're trying to shut shit down, it's not working real well. It gets more popular and spread more than it did before you got pissed off at it. Maybe if you would have shut up, it would have went away.
Yeah. Now the Biden camp will turn around and say, "See, he's got friends in the Kremlin as Trump," and they will turn that. See, they'll be turning that back on Trump. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I'm liking the thread. We got a lot of diversity here. We got the Argentina president. We've got you got Jamie Dimon. You got in Millet. Javier is badass. I'm all on his side. Let's see. So, and then we got Jamie Dimon, and then we had the guy at the Heritage. Nailed it as far as I'm concerned. And then we had Victor, and now for a little change of pace, we have the God himself.
Yeah.
It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody's...
Oh, that was the end of that.
Yeah.
So I know it's funny but true. It's sad. It's sad.
Well, George was the master of that, and I've got one last thing, and this is for you, B.
Okay, mate.
I want you to look at it, read it, and go from there. Whoop! Shit! I stopped the share. Hold on. Shit! I thought I said present. All right. Hold on one second. Here it is. That's for you.
Thanks, mate.
That's cute.
It makes you think about it, right? Are the two E's and B's silent?
I like it. It's good. I like it.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
Well, I think it's coming to that time of the day, guys.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's been what, 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly has. And I had nothing planned for today. Literally nothing. I had this little message from this dude last night saying, "What's on tomorrow?" You know, and I said, "Got nothing planned." And I said, "What is it?" Just this individual. I won't say which Robert it is, but we know.
I
know lots of Roberts.
I enjoy my Saturday evening chat group. I mean, I really do.
Yeah, I do too. I really do.
I don't know if it's like everybody. Because of who I am and what is important to me, there's very few people I hang with. And I've been here in Tucson area. I know a lot of people, but there isn't anybody here that hey, you want to come over? Or he calls up, hey, why don't you come over here or whatever? And I don't have that, but I have it in you guys. You went in the other fucking end of the world.
Well, there, we've got to do a show every weekend now, Rob.
Yeah,
right?
and
It's definitely a show every weekend just to keep.
Well, there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to. I'm working on. I got too much shit I'm working on, which is great. Kind of sleep's getting in the way, but it's all fun because it's like that. The video that I showed. I got more of those that I'm doing for my tech stuff, but I'm also launching the Nexus, and I'm getting an interesting lineup of guests queued up. I've got an astrologer, a scientist, a physicist, an educator, and a guy from the woo. So
you can invite me on once in a while as your what they call comic relief.
A little sidekick thing, yeah. You can be my Ed McMahon.
Comic relief, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mate. Anyway, listen, guys. Gerald, thank you for joining us, mate. Hey, it's always good to have you around, mate.
Thank you.
Gerald and I haven't been communicating a lot lately. He's been busy with his thing. I've been busy with mine, and I haven't been well at all. But that's what happens when you get younger. You get, isn't it, Jim? As we get younger, we tend to feel things more.
Yeah, every joint in your body hurts and your teeth hurts. So you take them out and set them over here so they don't bother you anymore. I lost almost all these teeth here in a bike crash. Not a bicycle, but my Honda 50.
Right.
And it was up behind Stanford. It was coming down Whiskey Hill Road, I think it is, and it's real windy. And I was coming around a bend, and there's a guy in my lane, and it was good. It was either I was going to go over the cliff into rocks, or I was going to go and try to go into the side of the road in the shoulder, which is gravel. And I stopped. I mean, I'm going like this, and all of a sudden, my little Honda hits the pavement. It stops. For the law of physics said, nope, you're going to go over and land on your head. No helmet, no gloves. I had a road burn all the way down here. And I lost or cracked all the teeth on this side. And cracked my jaw.
That makes my posterior orifice pucker.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, I originally lost some of my top teeth years ago, and I had crowns for many years. But when I was in the army, I'd done 2 services. 2 tours of Northern Ireland as a peacekeeper. Turned around, my mate and I turned around the corner. I caught a shotgun butt right in the mouth, split all the bottom lip open, and my teeth just went. I woke up in Aldershot Military Hospital. They flew me straight to Aldershot, and I got over it. And had new teeth put in. They put some crowns in, but crowns unfortunately don't last forever. So,
no, either do we.
That's true.
But you try to have as much fun as you can while you're here, so when that time comes, you don't have any regrets.
Yeah,
and come January 28th, I had that was the day Challenger blew up 38 years ago. It was also the day I was laying in an operating room table at Mayo Clinic. And it does an incredible thing when you're 40 years old to have someone tell you, Mr. Goodall says, your chance of surviving this surgery after 5 hours is, for all intents and purposes, 0, but we'll say 5%.
Oh.
And I was under it for 11 hours, and the surgery itself was 9.5. But it didn't hit me when I was first told that. And it took 36 hours. And I was at my favorite place to go every evening for 45 minutes. I'd go to a place called Stone Wings in Bloomington, Minnesota. And they had a live band. I would dance every single song. I was married to my first wife. This is how I coped with stress and strain. I'd go out, I'd dance the entire set. And then that started at 8:30. At 9:15, I got in my car and headed home. It was 4 miles away. So I was told on a Monday that I had a brain tumor, and my chances of survival were not good. It's in the middle of my head. And it was like someone said, one of your filler caps on your tire is missing. That's the emotional impact it had me at first. And so I went home and told my wife and told my son, and my daughter was 2. She didn't understand. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was at Stone Wings to go dancing for 45 minutes. That's how I kept together. And it was Tuesday night, and I was at Stone Wings, and it was Ben got out, quit at 9:15, and all of a sudden it hit me. You're 40 years old, you're going to die. And it took everything I could do to get out of there without, I only drank Diet Coke, to get out of there and get in my car. And it took me 3 hours to drive 4 miles. I was just absolutely hysterical. I got home. Shelley was wonderful, and she still is. She's like my sister today. And I'm in the family room, and I'm just a puddle. And at 3 o'clock, almost as the second hand came straight up, it was like someone had changed channels, and I had a peace come over me. And you know what? If this is the end, I have no regrets. But if I survive surgery all in one piece, I have to be happy. And my first wife and I, we buried 2 children to illness, and it killed the marriage. She's still, she's still a Mrs. Goodall, and I think there were others. She's she's like my sister. I go out to go to Minnesota. I'll stay at her place. I stay in the guest room. If Rosemary and I go out there, we'll stay at Shelley's. So I'm there with my current wife, current Mrs. Goodall, and this is the ex Mrs. Goodall, and they're really good friends. And so I have a
bet you they swap some good stories, eh?
Yeah, I have a delightful relationship with both Rosemary and my ex, and my relationship with Rosemary's ex, Bill Cox. I'm part of the Cox family. Oh, okay. So that's
anyway, Jim, it's
yeah,
always a pleasure.
I do.
A pleasure having you, Jim.
I'm a happy guy.
You look happy. You actually look like you're under the influence of happiness.
Yeah.
Oh.
And green. And it's green. Oh, khaki. It's khaki in color too.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
well, I appreciate the indulgence, gentlemen, on sharing those clips. I thought that they were interesting, compelling in a lot of ways, and relevant, because these are all within the last week. So
I know. I heard the new Argentine president, tear into him, and I just sat there and I said, "Is he really saying what I think I hear him say?" He's just obliterated.
I mean, one of the thoughts is, first of all, you got to know that the whoever organized this had at least should have had a good idea what this guy was probably going to say, at least the tone, because his reputation, that's how he got elected a few months ago.
Yeah.
So they had to have some kind of sense. Well, if we invite him up, he's probably going to be maybe like this. They didn't see that coming. That was raw, real, authentic, and to the point. And it needed to be said. In fact, I would say that everything that we listened to was stuff that needed to be said. I thought the guy at the Heritage was he was very good. I mean, he laid it out and just said, here's my 5 points. This is what they are. At the end of each one of them was, Trump will fix this.
Yeah.
Next, Trump will fix that. And then Victor Davis Hanson. I mean, everybody's nailing. They're pointing at the people that are screwing stuff up and they're calling them out for it. And that's what needs to happen. There's not enough of people getting called out for the shit that actually needs to be called out for. The stuff that's being called out is stuff that is made up by the people that are doing the calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that old Southern, I think it was Granny, them that doing the accusing are the ones doing the doing.
And from an Australian perspective, all we see is there's conflict in certain states of America with crime and corruption, and there's a lot of conflict in the world and everything else. That didn't happen when Trump was in power.
No, we
At least he had the balls to step across the border into North Korea.
Can you imagine Sloppy Joe tripping over that little rail there?
He would trip.
Face plant right into the rocks.
You do realize I'll probably get barred off bloody Facebook this week. They'll probably shut my show down.
Yeah, well, that's still a mystery of why they. Well, yeah, I didn't stream to Facebook. But, that's still a mystery. I mean, because it stayed up on my YouTube channel.
Well, for some reason, Messenger, which is part of Facebook, let me send out links from StreamYard to Messenger. Because of violation of community standards.
Well, you're Australian. I mean, come on. We have standards up here. We have standards up here, and Aussies, you guys, you have a score, and there is a threshold that you're just way too close to. So, we can't let your content up here. Right now, we got, what's that? Mike and Jolie is that one couple does great videos.
Oh yeah,
But we're real. We're real, mate.
And there's a few like that, but most of them are, these women that are scantily clad and they're doing some kind of dance or some kind of weird soundtrack, and it just loops, and you sit there and go, oh, wait a minute, what's going on down there in Australia? I think I need to go have a visit.
Yeah, but it's all right. Facebook doesn't mind all these skimpy women coming on with their camel toes, shaking their booty. That's okay. Now
you're damn right, it's okay, and I support it.
Hey, here's the latest one, right? Here's the latest one, mate. I have no problem about women in public breastfeeding their child, right? But now they're deliberately doing it in Facebook, where they're literally pulling out their boobs, nipples and all, then put the tit in the baby's mouth. Oh, but that's feeding a baby. Hold it. There's a different feeding a baby when it's got to be fed, right? In a restaurant, if you're out with a baby, with your husband, family, and you've got to feed your child, fine. You can wear a special outfit over the cover over, right? But to actually do it on Facebook, and they're getting away with it.
Well, the real question for me is,
it's wrong. It's wrong.
Is why do you have to take your phone out and record it while you're doing
it? Yeah.
Don't you have enough going on without having to make sure you got your phone up and you're logged in and the camera's on and the sound's on and it's positioned just right? I mean, I don't know. It seems to be a lot of extra effort, unless the rush that I get from it is worth the effort. Because that's what people are doing. That's why they're posting all this incredible shit. They get more rush from seeing themselves online.
Yeah,
I mean, I can remember I can remember the first time I was on television. I was on Channel 5 there in LA, and I was on the dating game. I was on it 3 different times.
Were you the questioner, or were you sitting in?
Oh no, there was 3 of us. There was
you were one of the options. Which bachelor were you?
This is interesting.
I was
number 2.
No, bachelor number 1.
Bachelor number 1.
Yeah.
Bachelor.
Yeah. And
Tell us,
one of the
tell us
questions-
who
one of
you
the
are
questions-
that we can actually publish on national network television.
I think it was 27 June 1967.
I wonder if we'll find that on YouTube. I wonder if we could find that on YouTube and their archives.
I have everything on YouTube pretty much, but it's a 27th or 21st. I don't recall, but it was a dating game, and I saw the girl when she came around, and I went, "Oh, thank God!" I mean, she was like her face was a proving ground for Claricel.
You were the happy loser.
Oh, yes, I was. Yes, I was. And the guy next to me was a character. It sort of reminds me of my buddy Joel. He was he had a Corvair Spider, 6-cylinder. I mean, it was hot. And he said it was a poor man's Porsche. And I had my big black Camaro. So we went out racing, up and down Mulholland and stuff like that. And those are good old days.
I remember you know, when you bring up stuff like that, I had this flashback of Whittier Boulevard on a Friday night in my 65 fastback Mustang. And I had twice pipes and my suspension was up. But I mean, there was Camaros and Firebirds and Chargers and Dusters and God knows, you know, all these.
On what boulevard? Where?
Whittier Boulevard.
Yeah,
That was one of the big cruise scenes.
I
There
did.
was Bob's Big Boy on there, and that was the hangout.
I cruise Van Nuys Boulevard in Van
Yep.
Nuys. I cruise up and down Hawthorne Boulevard, and I would cruise over in the east. Because I grew up in the. That was in L.A. I'm a little bit ripped by now, so I forget what I was going to say.
Really? I didn't notice. You guys notice anything going on?
No.
I
Yeah.
didn't see anything.
I mean,
I didn't hear anything either.
It's medical, so it's okay.
Okay.
And
it's got to be.
I told you I had the brain surgery. I had incredibly severe headaches for 10 years. And I was almost taking a lethal dose of Tylenol and Advil, and that'll kill you faster than anything. But he would keep to a livable level. And he had to do it every 4 hours. So it was 3 extra strength Tylenol, 2 Advil around the clock. And finally, I decided, and my doctor decided that, hey, it's going to kill you.
Yeah, it's funny you didn't out with ulcers, mate.
And I'd go in every 6 months to have my kidneys and liver checked. And it turns out half of it, I was emotionally addicted to the medication. It does work, but you're not going to die without taking it. And the other part of the equation, and probably more on the 60% cause of the headaches, she's 4'10", green eyes,
It was coming.
brunette, 100% Greek, and
A carbon base form in the female form with full of estrogen. Yes.
And we go shopping with her when she was going to go buy clothes, and we couldn't get out. And this is back in the 60s and 70s. We couldn't get out of Saks Fifth Avenue without spending $2,500 on a few things. I mean, she loved to spend money. Oh, she was gorgeous, but evil. She was the Antichrist. I know. She had possession of my soul until I was ever able to break loose. And then of course I ended up with a fraud after that. So I'm not batting very well.
Well, the spice of life is the experience you have. And sometimes the spices are great and you got a great marinade going on, a nice piece of meat, and it's delicious, it's juicy, it's like all you want. And then other times, you you don't have that, and in varying degrees of each part, and you kind of go, well, it's okay, it's what I got right now.
But you find out it had worms, so it's okay.
And then later on you find out, well, that one came with some extra stuff that you weren't counting on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the things that I think are really interesting and important is the fact that the shitstorm that we've all been wading through for the last few years, there is some I don't know if we call it reinforcements, it's more like support. There's all these additional
sunshine on the horizon. How's that?
Yes, there are. You can see the sun popping over the horizon, and there's friendly looking things on the horizon, and you're looking at it going, wait a minute, here was one. Oh, that was kind of cool. Well, shit, I thought I was all by myself thinking this stuff. And here you've got all these people talking about it around the world in the high profile range, where you're going, oh shit, I'm not the only one that thinks like that. There are other people, and these people are up there doing some of this work. This is interesting, because usually you don't hear intelligence coming out of those that you're hearing intelligence from now. It's like, wait a minute, I think some light bulbs went off. Somebody is pulling a chain somewhere, and the light's coming on, and there's like, well, looking around here, I thought this room was different, but there's a bunch of stuff in here I'm going to get rid of.
Robert, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation tonight or today.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you for your indulgence.
And I enjoy it as always.
And thank you, James. Look, we'll see you next week. And if you need us, either of us, anywhere in between, just give us a message. We'll be there for you, mate.
Yeah.
And Gerald, thank you very much, Mr. Midwest Night Watchers. And I get it right in the first sentence, mate. I don't know why. At least my grey matter's working a bit better today, which is strange because I don't get sleep these days. I really don't sleep. My daughter.
No, I think it's just that Southern Aussie you speak. You know, it's got a slang to it that, you know, up here on the where everything is upright. I mean, we hear you talk and we go, I think he's talking upside down. Does that sound upside down to you?
Well, he has a mouthful of shit, you know.
I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to tell you something. My wife, my gorgeous wife, is a Filipino lady, right? And she's a prim and proper Christian woman.
Right?
God,
yeah.
But she's sweet, very bossy, but sweet. But I tell you something, guys. She said, why? Because they don't understand our Western sense of humor, right? Like
it's a sickness to most people.
And she says to me, why do you let them talk to you so disrespectful? And I said, they're not talking to me disrespectful. What? Yes, they are. And I said, no, they're not. I said, I give back the same shit they give me.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's what friends do. But she can't see. She doesn't understand the concept. So she just put her hands up and says, "Oh well, it's your show. Yeah, it's your go." You know.
Well, you bring that up. There's an actual study about, and I think it's just out in the last week as well, about the difference between how men treat each other with men and how women treat each other with women. And it was fundamentally on the line of men can, the summary statement was something to the effect, men get together with their friends, talk shit to each other, and then they go have a beer. Women talk shit about each other and then cause all kinds of chaos. They can't, once they start getting on, another female in the group thing, then it's okay, can't do that anymore. And they don't have the perspective that men have, where we want to fuck around and joke and slap each other around because we know we're going to get some back. But it's a good time doing it because everybody's like, Oh, that was great, man. You got
I
that
mean-
one done. I'm going to get you back.
I've had people, say, I thought you hated that guy's guts. I said, I don't know. He's like a brother to me. But you call him asshole all the time. Well, because he is. But he's still my best friend.
But at least he's my asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to call it quits today for today, and listen till next week or whenever. And well, definitely next week. I know it's got to be a Saturday night thing. I know that. And hey, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tickle that little fella down there, and hit the bell, and you'll get notification. And I don't know what we're going to be talking next time, but I can guarantee it's going to be a lot of subjects, and especially if Robert Bauer's in on it. And
Not my fault, man. You ask, I deliver. That's all there is.
I know. Come on. Don't spit the dummy. Come on. I'm doing my thingy. Hey, I much appreciate everything you do, Rob. Anyway, okay, everybody. And it's this is Mr. B here. Yeah. Hey, remember, be nice, be kind, aspire to inspire one another, and lift each other up so we can
hugs and kisses from sunny Arizona that we're going to get rained on tonight.
Yes, it's very warm here today as well. We've had some very hot weather. So, and again, guys, thank you very much. And I think it's time for me to kind of sign out and say, hey, this is Mr. B going. See you later, alligators.
I enjoyed it.
Hey, you know what?